Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Movie Section Show. My name is Fariba. I know, I know, we kind of delayed the live, but let's just say the Paris Olympics closing ceremony took some time. So that's why we're a little late on the live. But that being the case, let's just say there's a lot of movie and TV news to cover, especially lots of stuff coming from Disney. Disney has had a big week. Let's just be honest with that. So yeah. And this is I guess this is the second week that I'm now doing this. And in doing so, I brought back my buddy Maya. Maya, are you there? Can you?
Woo. I'm here.
Hi. There's Maya. Maya and I had a blast talking about Deadpool Wolverine, and we thought, let's just continue on talking about this. So again, we'll continue to test this out, like, and see if this is something that we can make this like a regular thing. Um, but but yeah, I'm just fixing my panel right there. All right. So yeah, let's just get down to a lot of the big news again. The Paris Olympics just closed out. I mean, we just saw Tom Cruise just jump out of the Stade de France, all the way from the top. So that's a lot of fun. Um, like, I mean, I knew Tom Cruise was going to jump at some point, but yeah. But let's get down to, like, I guess, like, the main stuff. The first thing I do want to mention though is that today, I guess we can. I think this is now official because I've been seeing it from all the outlets, and I think even saw it from one of Marvel's official accounts. Deadpool Wolverine has now reached 1 billion today. So
That's
big
insane.
news. Insane, right? I mean, it was inevitable. Let's just say that it was inevitable, given the way that the movie had debuted on its opening weekend. It had made $215 million, I believe it was. That's already indication that's going to be a $1 billion movie. Plus, with the fact that you have Hugh Jackman returning as Logan. Then you also have Deadpool joining the MCU, and also the fact that the previous two movies for Deadpool, their actual run ended around like 800 million. So it was inevitable. The 1 billion was going to happen. The fact that it was performing so well the last 3 weeks, and I believe it's still the number one movie. Like, I think it's edging out the Blake Lively film.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like it's still going to remain at the top. I mean, it's gonna be dethroned by this point, this week, because of Alien Romulus. But yeah, 1 billion. This is a huge success for Marvel, of course, because I mean, the last few years, let's just say, Marvel hasn't had this amount of success. Not since Spider-Man: No Way Home. No Way Home, I believe, is actually the last MCU movie to have reached at least $1 billion milestone, and there have been a couple of close calls with reaching that milestone, like Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. I think ended around like 900 million.
Mm-hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I believe, ended around like 700, 800 million. But it's been a long time since we actually seen the MCU reach this milestone. Like, I mean, this is like Avengers level, milestone right here. I mean, only a few films have managed to get to this point. And now, after a couple of bumps in the road for not just Marvel but even for Disney, I don't think Disney has had a $1 billion movie in a while either. So this is a big deal, of course. This is probably going to support the idea that Hugh Jackman's going to be playing Wolverine until he's 90. um, but yeah, really huge news right there. It has now reached 1 billion. Now it's just a matter of where it's going to end, and whether or not there is even a chance for this film to reach 2 billion. I don't think it's gonna reach 2 billion, but my thoughts are that it might end up around. It has a chance of maybe ending around 1.5 billion. But what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's gonna reach 2 billion. Um, I mean, I feel like those who have seen it have seen it,
Mm-hmm.
like somebody have seen it 5 times. Um,
I've seen it five
but
times.
yes, I'm definitely not talking about you. But yeah, like I had a friend who just saw it this weekend. I was like, oh, like, it's kind of like she's like, I was like, you're a little late, but I was like, no, it's only its second week, but I feel like everybody's seen it. But there's still like those stragglers who, like aren't huge fans who are still like rolling in, will see it, and that will bring up costs or ticket sales, but I feel like it's gonna eventually plateau with like you said, Alien Romulus.
It's
Romulus,
coming
yeah.
out this week. Yeah,
That
no, I
that movie
yeah.
that movie looks so good. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And
I
I
think
have
it's
to also
gonna.
watch that too. Yeah, no, I gotta watch the. I'm probably gonna watch the two Alien movies later tonight just to get myself ready for ramen because I am gonna see it this Thursday. So, but yeah, no, I feel like it's gonna start slowing down for sure. I think one thing I will say is that it will still make some money along the way just because we are reaching into a very slow period
Hmm.
with movies. Aside from Alien and Romulus, like usually August and September are quiet months in general. So although there is Beetlejuice coming, so that's probably going to, I mean, if it wasn't even for Alien, like you still have Beetlejuice. So yeah, at some point
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Beetlejuice is coming, like I think sometime in September, I think like right before my birthday, I believe.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that it's going to, yeah, it will still make money. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to try and watch multiple times, like I've seen it like 5 times now. And I might even go see it for a sixth time, who knows, maybe. I haven't decided yet, we'll see. But yeah, it has now reached 1 billion, huge feat for not just Marvel Studios, but even for just the Deadpool like series itself. I mean, this is like, and not just that, but this is actually the second R-rated movie in history to reach this. I don't know if you knew that.
What
The
was the first?
first was Joker, like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
I've never seen that movie.
Oh my god.
I know. I know. The second one's
Well,
coming out too.
you're gonna have to see it like at some point because the second one comes out in October.
I know. We gotta support Gaga. So I'll have to
There you
figure
have
out
it.
what's going on.
Exactly. No, but Joker was the first to really ever reach this as a rated R film, and now Deadpool has now become the second. So yeah, big stuff, right? I mean, again, like, I mean, this is very historic. Let's just say it's very historic. Something that's never been, done. Not with a lot of R-rated movies, and here it is with Disney with an R-rated movie reaching 1 billion. So it's insane. I mean, again, now it's just a matter of where it's going to stop. We'll keep an eye on it, but yeah, I mean, this probably may not be the end of Deadpool Wolverine now, as we're seeing more of the success. So, but yeah, that's all I have to say. But is there anything else you have to say before we go to the next topic?
No, not really. We
No,
kind of
really.
covered all of it.
Cool. Oh, I don't know if you read some things. So, you know how in the last, because we'll still talk about Deadpool Wolverine now. We're gonna go more into like just the actual movie itself. So I don't know, because I know we've been talking a little bit about some of the behind the scenes stuff, and even reading about some of the interviews and stories about going into Deadpool Wolverine and whether or not so and so things happened or how they ideated some things. So now that the actual spoiler stuff, like we're now in like spoiler territory, like they're now been sharing a lot more of the spoiler information about the movie and what was going on behind the scenes, and whether or not they were even considering some cameos. Because I know that when we're going into Deadpool Wolverine, right, the big question was who's going to cameo in this film, right? People are guessing. We were like, oh, maybe the X-Men, maybe like characters like Magneto or Charles. So I don't know if you've been catching up on those, but from what has been revealed so far, one thing is that I believe the writers confirmed this. So not Ian McKellen, sorry. Patrick Stewart was never considered to be coming back for Charles. So they never really considered that. But you know what they did consider? They almost considered getting Nicolas Cage to play Ghost Rider. Like, remember Ghost Rider?
He did play Ghost Rider.
He played Ghost Rider. And apparently they tried to reach out and have him cameo for the movie, because technically speaking, Ghost Rider was in that Fox movie era, right? So it would have fit. But I think Cage was like, yeah, no, I'm going to pass on that idea, which I get it. He doesn't want to be associated with that. I mean, both movies didn't do so well. And plus, I feel like having too many cameos in that sort of aspect would have been a bit too much for the film anyways, because when you look at those cameos that they did have for the team there that wanted that ending, it's like, okay, this is actually the perfect amount that we needed. It would have been oversaturated if there was anything else. On top of that, it was also revealed, and this is from the writers, that Robert Downey Jr. almost made a cameo.
I did hear about that one.
Yes, and apparently, like, so this was the scene with the Happy Hogan. You know what I'm talking about,
Yes.
the opening scene. So apparently, that scene was. So there was a couple ideas with that one. The first one was that Robert Downey Jr. was supposed to reprise his role as Tony Stark. There was, I think, even at one point, from what I was reading, Robert Downey Jr. had actually read the script. I might be wrong. So there was actually some, development on that, bringing him back for just a short cameo as Tony Stark. Because technically speaking, Tony hadn't had died yet, right? Because it was still 2018. So,
True.
so apparently RDJ was being considered, and instead of just having Happy Hogan, it was going to be both him and Happy doing the interview with Deadpool. So,
Oh.
and it was, and you know how Happy was like saying how, oh, like, you're just not ready yet, blah blah blah. Like apparently that was going to be Tony's line from what I've read.
Um.
So that was one thing. Also, another thing they considered was that they were also going to bring the Avengers in that same scene. They were considering at one point bringing the Avengers. I don't think they went that far to even consider it, like even like doing like a read or something like that, like whereas RDJ did do the read, but with the Avengers idea, they were considering the Avengers idea where they would have all the Avengers, and apparently there was going to be something very graphic that was going to happen.
Interesting.
So yeah, so there was a couple of ideas that they did have in terms of like actually bringing some of the other cast members and again bringing in more cameos, but again for the RDJ thing, like from what I was reading from the screenwriters, I don't think they knew about the whole Doctor Doom development because of course it had this had happened with the Doctor Doom, like it would have been so confusing and that would have just ruined a lot of things. But and even then I think Marvel Studios would have just shut down the idea, be like, oh yeah, we're not gonna let this pass. So
yeah.
but yeah, what are your thoughts knowing the fact that the movie almost had Nicolas Cage being considered as a cameo, or that RDJ was almost going to play Tony Stark again, or the fact that there was even a consideration of bringing the actual Avengers, like the actual team, to appear in the movie? Like just hearing that, like, what are your thoughts?
I like how, of course, like they considered these characters, and like how they wanted to revive Marvel somehow because of like recent movies not doing well. Um, but like people like Nicolas Cage, I feel like especially like him, like he's kind of shifted. Like Longlegs just came out, and that was the movie he started and produced, and it was weird. I know you definitely didn't see it, or you did. I think
I
you
did
did.
see Longlegs.
Yes. So I feel like that it would have been like weird since like that movie came out like a month before, and then seeing him as Ghost Rider. I mean, it would have been cool, but I feel like it would have been like, oh, what's he doing? The RDJ thing, yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely did hear after about it,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, I think they did not know about the whole Doctor Doom. Because I'm glad that it didn't happen, because then it would have confused everybody even more. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's confused now still with him being Doctor Doom. And then
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if he just showed up, like it just would have that wouldn't have made any sense, because it got announced the day the movie came out that he was playing Doctor Doom,
2 days after
right?
the movie came out. 2 days.
2 days.
So
Okay, I couldn't
Thursday,
remember when I saw it.
Friday,
Okay,
and then the whole H panel was that Saturday.
got it. Yeah, so I feel like that would have been like a what the heck's going on? But I did see when I think Ryan Reynolds posted on Instagram like a tribute to Jon Favreau. Right? Did you see
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Saying
Yes.
that he
Yes.
was doing
Yes.
great. But
Yes.
yeah, I think I'm glad that scene was just happy. I feel like it played out really well
Mm-hmm.
with everything that went on. So it's like
And,
it would have been
and,
cool, but
yeah. And not just that, I was going to say, because with the Jon Favreau scene, I think what was so significant about it is that, the only reason why the MCU is the MCU is because of Jon Favreau. He's the one who
it is.
kickstarted Iron Man. He was a director of Iron Man. He's the one who fought for RDJ to play Iron Man, because, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but like back then when they were considering potential actors to play, you know, Tony Stark slash Iron Man, there was that rumor like, oh, Tom Cruise was being considered and all that. But at one point, I don't think it was Disney. I think it may have been Paramount, because Paramount, I believe, still had, the Iron Man stuff. But the studio at that time was like, yeah, I don't think we want RDJ because of, his past history, like, his history with his arrest, drugs, and everything like that. But it's like Jon Favreau fought for him because by that point, RDJ was clean. He was he was finally starting to, get his crap together, and that Jon Favreau fought for him to play this character, and now we look at it and it's like, wow, look how much Iron Man has grown. Look at how much the MCU has grown. It wouldn't be the MCU if it wasn't for Iron Man, right? I mean, there's no denying that. I mean, yes, when we do look at the MCU, there's so many players who've helped, the MCU grow, but, the MCU wouldn't be the way it was if it wasn't for that Kickstarter, which is Iron Man and RDJ, and how he's the one who basically helped carry that success for MCU for like a long time, and now we're seeing him again eventually, right, as Doctor Doom. It's just like, yeah, having Jon Favreau in that particular scene, like, it is very significant, not just because of the fact that they needed someone from MCU, but just simply the fact that he is the one who helped MCU the way it is. Like, he's the one who kickstarted it. He's been there, he's been around, and now and again, it made a very worthy scene. Yes, would we had wanted a Tony Stark? I mean, again, had it not been for the whole Doctor Doom thing, then it wouldn't have been a bad thing. But also with the fact that he is gonna be Doctor Doom, like, it would have made it so confusing, especially for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people didn't even watch Deadpool Wolverine until the following week, right? That would have been just like, if you had seen the movie beforehand, fine, but if you've seen it after, it's like, after the reveal that he's Doctor Doom, is like, what the hell is going on, right? Like, a lot of people would be confused. So, but yeah, that was that. I think at the end of the day, like, what we saw with Deadpool Wolverine, things worked out the way it was, and I think the cameos were perfect. I think, again, even bringing in Wesley Snipes, like, I think that was just about it that you really needed to kind of elevate the way, to bring in the best cameos for this film, and I think Wesley Snipes was one of the best ones there. So I think that having now watched Deadpool Wolverine, I don't think there's anything really that I would say I would want to change. Like, I wouldn't even be like, oh, I wish there was the Avengers, because I'm just like, you know what, this is, because again, there was a whole theme behind the film, and that is the love for Fox Marvel. That's what it really was, and just to integrate some other characters, like, the Avengers or something like that, I just feel like it would have been a bit too much. And even if we were to bring in other characters, like, I mean, yes, I would have had loved to seen the X-Men characters like Storm, like Halle Berry's Storm, or James Morrison's Cyclops. Like, there was a moment I was like, oh man, I would have had loved to see them, but I think for what it was worth, I think this is the best that they would need, again, to provide something balanced in, the story that they have. And again, even though the plot is not the greatest, it's just like, when you look at the general message, it's like, okay, it makes a lot of sense, and it really works for a film like Deadpool Wolverine. So, but yeah, but that was just about it with Deadpool Wolverine. Again, we're just seeing all the BTS stuff coming from Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, even from the director Sean Levy, learning more of the things that were going to happen but never really happened. But still, like, I mean, let's see how things go, right? I mean, this isn't the only time, like, this isn't the only thing, right? I'm gonna assume we're gonna have some big stuff happening in the Avengers movies as well, so we still gotta keep some ideas, right, for other things. So but yeah, I think that's but yeah, let's move along to some of the next few bits. Okay, I wanted to ask, because there's been a lot of movies that have been out this week. So let's quickly mention those. Did you watch any new movie this week? I don't think you have, right?
No, I have not.
You haven't seen It Ends With Us, Cuckoo, or Borderlands, right?
No, and no. Didn't know the second one was a movie.
Cuckoo?
Never heard of it before. Yeah.
That's the one with Hunter Schafer.
Oh, I did not know Hunter was in another movie.
Yeah, Hunter Schafer. No, I saw all three of those films this past week, plus Deadpool Wolverine for the 5th time. Yeah, I mean, I saw all three of them. I would just say don't watch Borderlands.
That's what I heard. People from, I guess, because I also didn't know it was a video game until recently.
Yeah.
And people said it does not do the video game justice, so.
So I've not played the video game, but I watched it because, again, it's part of my job. So I did see it the Thursday night, and yes, I was aware of the, I think it has like a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Oh, no.
It's that bad. No, I will tell you, like, I will say that with Borderlands, it just seems so uninspiring as a video
Oh.
game adaptation. Yeah, there's some. It's not to say that like everything about it was bad. Like there were some things I was like, okay, like the fact, like I would say like the settings and just kind of like I would say that the like the setting, like the some of the like the background and all that sort of stuff, it is pretty cool, and seeing some of the more like technic punk kind of vibe to it. But aside from that, like you can tell there were so many problems with this movie. The script was so messy. The characters were like whatever, and some of the casting does seem a bit of a miscast. Like Kevin Hart, for instance, I was like, oh, and he's playing like a really serious character, and the movie tries so hard to be funny, but nothing really
Got it.
lands. And then they're trying to like bring in some of the characters, and then some of the character decisions seem pretty forced and very like inner, like it's like not very natural. um yeah, it was a mess. And then I would say the worst part was the ending. The worst part was the
Oh,
ending.
dang.
The ending was just like the CGI. I was like, oh my god, this cannot be the CGI. Because there's one bit with Kate Blanchett, I was like, oh my god, they did not just, I would say they did Kate Blanchett dirty. Oh my god. Like, I mean, I love Kate Blanchett so much. She is like one of the best actresses
Mm-hmm.
out there. But oh my god, like I don't know how she got involved in this movie, to be honest. I'm just like, oh my god, like
Wow.
Kate, I was like, I love you, but this ain't it, man. But she really tries, though. She really tries her best to somehow do something with this movie, but it's just a mess. And I would say it's even boring. Like it's uninspiring. It's very boring. I just didn't really care for it. That's just what it was. Like, and I will say this, like there are some bits in the movie where it's like, okay, I'm seeing kind of an idea of what this world is and what it's trying to build, like what the world building is. And I have a pretty good sense that this movie was supposed to have been violent. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? I think,
okay.
and I didn't even know about this, but apparently the actual game is actually rated mature, but the
Oh.
actual movie is rated PG-13. And I could tell that there was moments in the film where I'm just like, this seems like it should have been a bit more graphic. It should have been a bit more violent. Like there's some, like there was these like these characters that are like kind of like, I want to say like a bit murderous, and I'm just like, wait a second, is this supposed to be a bit more violent? But then they into mellow, and then eventually I learned that, oh, the actual game is like rated M for mature. So I have a sense that this would have been better had it been a R-rated movie, but because it was PG-13, they really had to kind of tone down a lot of the violence and the action in this movie, and I think that came at a cost, to be honest. So yeah, and you can tell, you can see it. The decisions for this film was very consequential because it's not a good movie. Again, I did not enjoy it whatsoever. Um, that's me. Also, the movie's not doing well box office wise. I will say, from what I'm hearing, like the movie has at least made its budget. You know, the movie's budget is like $120 million.
Oh, dang.
It's so that's basically like a big movie budget right there.
That's
Like
probably because
event
of all the CGI and stuff like that, like because it's a video
CGI, the
game.
cast is
Oh,
one thing
true, the
too.
cast.
The cast. Um. So, but the movie only made like I think $8 million in the domestic box office, like
Huh.
8 million. And the budget's 120. Although apparently I'm reading that the movie at least has covered the budget through like international licensing fees. So it's not like, oh, it's lost like almost $100 million from its budget, but it's not gonna do well, like box office wise, because if the movie only made like 8 million here in the United States, I would imagine that I would say it tops internationally probably like 8. So then when you combine that, it probably makes like 16 million total. The break even point for this movie would have to be around 240 million to even be a break even, to be at that break even point. And then if it goes beyond that, then that's when you actually reach profitable range. But yeah, this movie is not gonna reach that point, I think this movie is not going to be doing well box office wise,
Yeah.
and it shows. Like, I mean, one thing being the word of mouth. Like, I mean, the critics don't like it, audiences don't like it, because I think I saw like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's a little better on the audience side, but still, it's not great. Not many people are aware of this movie, like they like because they don't know the actual video game, so it's like you have
Hmm.
that, you don't even have the audience for it, and like, again, the word of mouth is just not great. So yeah, I would not watch Borderlands if I were you. I would say of the three, the one that I actually did enjoy was Cuckoo with Hunter Schafer. I think that one was actually the best of the three that I saw. So I would say Cuckoo, then It Ends With Us, then Borderlands. Cuckoo, like, it's definitely on the like the horror thriller side. It is a
Okay.
bit weird. I will tell you this. It's a bit weird, but once you start to, invest yourself in the character that Hunter plays in the movie, you actually start to realize just how deep it is, because there are some things about the character that is very, sad and tragic. And I would even say at one point I almost got a little teary eyed. I was like, oh my God, like, I can actually understand what this character is going through, and I think Hunter does a really great job in this movie. Hunter has a really great performance. Dan Stevens, like, as this really weird German guy. I mean, the German really threw me off. I was like, wait, is he speaking with a German accent? um, like, you know who I'm talking about? Like, Dan Stevens. He's the guy
Yes.
who, yeah. So he plays like a German like dude in this movie who I think is like a hotel owner or something, and but he's also very sketchy. Like, you can tell he's like really sketchy, and like there's a whole thing that happens between him and his character and Hunter's character. But even beyond that, right, I would say that that Cuckoo is actually a pretty good movie, so I recommend that. It Ends With Us was the one I was like, okay, I don't like romance.
You
um
don't like
I
romance.
don't like romance. And then there's that whole beef that's been going on with
Hmm.
Lively and Baldani, and I mean, just reading about it, I was just like, oh my God, like, don't worry, darling, again. Like, are we really going into that
Yeah.
territory? But in terms of the movie itself, it's actually not as bad as I thought. Like, I've been hearing
Hmm.
about how the actual story is very controversial. You actually told me a little bit about, the Arthur a little bit, and how there's been some problems with that. And I was just like, okay. But of course, like, I'm looking at a standpoint from like a movie person, right? I'm just,
Hmm.
that's where I'm looking at from. And I will say that, watching the movie, like, it has pacing problems. I will say that it does have some pacing problems. Like, the first half of the movie, I could care less about. I was just like, oh my God, this is taking such a long time. It's going so slow. But the second half is where you start to actually get really invested in the story, and I'm just like, oh, now things are finally getting juicy, and I'm like watching. I was like, okay, what's going to happen? And I'm aware that there are some bits in the book that are a bit controversial, so I was like waiting for those bits. But then I didn't really see those bits, and I was just like, okay, they must have changed them. And then they actually did change a lot of the controversial bits from the book, because now I've actually read the differences. I was like, oh yeah, this does actually sound pretty bad in the book, but in the movie they change a lot of those those controversial bits. So
Hmm.
overall, like, I would say I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I had expected with It Ends With Us. But is it a movie that I would watch again? Probably not, because I don't like romance movies. But the performances were good. The direction, I think, just that some of the decisions that were made in terms of story were good. Although, again, I don't know. Like, again, I wonder what the Justin Baldoni cut was, because I mean, again, there's apparently a rumor going on that the reason why there's a feud was that there was apparently different cuts. So I wonder what Baldani's cut would have actually looked like would have had been able to fix that first half of the movie. Maybe, I don't know. um but yeah, I mean, I would say give it a chance for anybody who is planning, who's still kind of on the fence of it. Again, I know there is some controversial bits about the whole story itself and just, again, the author. But yeah, I mean, if you are someone who loves romance, watch it. If you are someone who doesn't want to watch it, I mean, no big deal. The movie is already a big hit. I don't know if you know, but the movie's already a big hit. Like,
Hmm.
the movie's budget was like 25 million. The movie's already making 70 million globally. So it's a big hit already.
Yeah.
So, which I'm
Yeah,
not
that's because
surprised.
yeah, it's because the book. I mean, like, I'm a big book girly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So like that was one of like what blew up on Book Talk. That's like the first, like that's how like I discovered Book Talk in general. Was Colleen Hoover. I never read any of her stuff. I know people have, and I know people love it or they hate it. But like this book is kind of like what started it all. So it's like this has been such an anticipated movie, and they've been talking about it forever. And it's like how there's tons of other movies that are coming out based off books that are getting announced recently.
Like
More of Colleen Hoover.
Verity. I don't know.
Yes,
Verity.
Verity. That's another Colleen.
Verity.
I think that's how
Yeah,
it's
there you go.
fit. It's
Something like
another
that.
Colleen Hoover book, a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Um, I've had friends that read it and they love it. Yeah, there's that. There's so many other book movies that are coming out. So it's like this has been such a hype, and the book community is so huge now, like in
Mm-hmm.
this 2024. So it's like it's only like gonna get bigger. It's like it's like how there's the Marvel people and like they have their thing, and then there's the book people where they see like their favorite things coming to life. So yeah,
Interesting.
it's gonna be huge.
I mean, I'm aware that there is a sequel to It Ends With Us, so there is actually like
Yes.
more to the story, and I think this one focuses more on Atlas and Lily, right? I mean,
Yes.
I mean, have you been reading interviews? It seems as though Justin Baldoni does not want to make the sequel, which I feel like fuels the whole rumor that there was something that happened behind the scenes.
Yeah,
um,
I feel like yeah, I think the second one is called It Starts With Us. I think that's the sequel in it.
mm-hmm.
I know the cover's blue. Um, but yeah, the way he has been acting, but I've seen like when fans approach him, there was a TikTok, some girl found him on the street, and he like still is still like very like nice and interacts with the fans. So I feel like that's good. It's like I think just like personal beef with like the other actors and actresses.
I mean, yeah, we don't really know what happens. I mean, again, I'm
Yeah.
just going by by what the Hollywood Reporter has mentioned, and I think a little bit of from I believe Jeff Schneider covered a little bit of it. I mean, as much as the fact I'm not a biggest Jeff Schneider person,
Hmm.
his reporting is actually, you know, pretty accurate in a lot of cases. Like I've seen it happen. I mean, there was one bit with the Robert Downey Jr. thing, but yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just really unfortunate to see what's going on with the movie, especially because I've actually been seeing some of Justin Baldoni's interviews, and he's actually been talking a lot about the messaging and the
Hmm.
theme of it, of like the actual of the story, and just trying to raise awareness about things like SA and uh, domestic abuse in relationships and all that sort of stuff. So um, it's very unfortunate that that kind of messaging and that kind of discussion is definitely in the background, and it's like the focus of it's more so the feud, because it is a very important topic to talk about. I mean, it's one that when you look at it, it's like there is quite a statistic when you look at something like that, and it's like, okay, well, this does happen in real life, and it's like okay, there are changes that were made from the book just to reflect on that, and it's just like, okay, well, I wish there could have been a little bit more where people would have just focused on the actual bits about the movie rather than just talking about the beef. I mean, it's really
Hmm.
unfortunate, and I feel like Justin Baldoni has, I mean, again, I feel like it sucks because I feel like he's kind of getting the brunt of the blame for some reason, which I
Hmm.
feel like is
Yeah.
very unwarranted, because I'm just like, well, he is a director. He is also, I mean, yes, he's a star, but for the main part, he is a director. He's the one who really wanted to make this story, and now it's like, we have all this going on, and so again, I mean, as I said, the feud is gonna be the feud.
Hmm.
Again, the movie's doing well, generally speaking. Will we get the sequel? I don't know. Again, it's kind of because don't you need Ryle to be in the second movie? Like, don't you need him? Because I don't know if Justin Baldoni wants to even play this character if the feud ends up becoming true. Like, isn't Ryle in the actual book for the sequel? Isn't that
I assume I've never read it,
I
but
assume?
he's
Yeah,
such a big character that he would have to come back for it.
I would have to assume as well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it sucks. It really sucks. Again, I feel like the whole thing going on with Justin Baldoni, it sucks as well. But also,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So, but yeah, I mean, the movie's doing well. That's all that matters. Definitely has an audience. I think again, when you look at Blake Lively's whole, filmography, like she really leans into that kind of movies. I mean, we've seen that with Age of Adeline. We've
Hmm.
seen that can't remember what other movies, but she's definitely more in like the romantic sphere. So, but yeah, but you are you planning? You said you're not planning on watching it anytime soon, right?
I don't. I know like my mom wants to watch it, so maybe if
Mm-hmm.
she says sometime soon she'll see it, I'll see it. But no, just like in general, I never planned on watching it.
Gotcha. Alrighty. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Ends with us there. Let's. So I'm gonna move on to one quick bit from something from last week, and I know you don't watch House of Dragon or Game of Thrones, so it's not something that you'll be able to talk too much about.
Yeah.
But you did message me about something because last week I was talking about how I wanted to go watch House of Dragon, so we were going to wrap up things, and that show is now ended. And since then, there's been a lot of backlash and a lot of feedback and a lot of criticism that's been coming out since then. And so I just wanted to address it because I know you said that your coworker wasn't a big
Hmm.
fan of that finale. Like you said, he was like bored or something, right?
Yes, I think he said that he felt bored or he felt rushed. I'm not
Rushed.
entirely
Okay.
sure. Yeah, something like that.
So I'll say this because, like, honestly, I feel like I didn't have any issues with the finale. And that's just me, of course. Like, I mean, it's like just about anything is subjective. And so criticism is criticism. But
Hmm.
one of the things I will say is that everybody who keeps saying that, oh, I was anticipating a battle, I
Yes,
got a bit
that's what
tired
he
of that.
said.
I
He
got
said,
really
I
tired
wanted
of
the
that.
dragons to do something. That's what he
Yeah,
said.
no. I feel like when people say that, I feel like people are missing the point of that because I get if there was like other aspects to like the issues with this because I would say like season 2 is not a perfect season. There are definitely some things I was like, okay, I wish it could have been better. Like for instance, the whole haunted mansion thing took a while to get through, but then once you get to the finale, you're like, okay, it makes a little bit more sense now, but still, it took a while. But honestly speaking, I feel like people are missing the point of what House of Dragon is. House of Dragon is not just dragons. And let's be honest, like when you compare this to Game of Thrones also didn't have that many battles or violence or dragons of that sort. It's particularly in the first season. The first season didn't even have a lot of that. We didn't even see the dragons till like the end of season 1. So it's just like what really makes House of Dragon, what really makes Game of Thrones great as they are is more so the politics and the rivalry and the strategy and the tactics that some of the characters go through. And I feel like that's what really makes up a lot of the shows is because of those elements. And I feel like with House of Dragon, like I get it. People are like, "Oh, season 1 was all about setting up a war," or season 2 is like, "Oh, I guess this is just another way of setting up the war." If you actually watch Game of Thrones wasn't that far off, like with a similar strategy. Like, yeah, I get that you want the big battle, but if you've seen Game of Thrones, you would know that in Game of Thrones, like before they had to reduce the episodes to like 6, 7 episodes. There used to be 10 episodes between seasons 1 to 6, I believe. And the ninth episode of each season always had this big battle, the big event, right? The big event that would happen. And then the actual finale would be the one building up to the following season. So what we saw in House of Dragon season 2 was not that far off from what Game of Thrones would do, which is setting up the next season. And that's clearly what the finale did, was setting up the next season. It's no different from what Game of Thrones did, which is like, oh, each of their finale set up the next season, because that's the same thing. And we've never really complained about that with Game of Thrones. And the whole battle situation is like, well, the war just began, and it's just like, okay, we did get one battle, but now it's like, everyone's now trying to cope from that. Like, everyone's dealing with the aftermath of that battle, and we're seeing that some of the characters, and we're seeing already the consequences of what this war would basically lead up to. And now it's just a matter of people being strategic. And I feel like when you also reflect this on like a war in like real life, it's like wars don't just happen like you're like, oh, we're gonna have battle each and every day. No, like there are people at the top who need to strategize and figure out what they want to do next, and like trying to go on a much more faster pace with something like House of Dragons, just like it just wouldn't make sense, narrative wise. Yes, I will say that the pacing was definitely a little slow, and that's something hopefully will be resolved by the next season. And that's why, the season was, reduced to 8 episodes, because the first season was 10 episodes, the second season was only 8. And so, and we can still get the sense of it being a very slow season. But I feel like it is getting too much of the criticism that it really needs, especially when you compare it to Game of Thrones. It was just like Game of Thrones was no different, yet people loved Game of Thrones and people don't like House of Dragon season 2 finale. But that's what I feel the sense of. It's just like, okay, I get if there are some actual criticism with, the slowness, like the slow burn of it. If you're expecting battles in the end of it, I'm just like, yeah, you're kind of missing the point of what this series is about. Like, this is a family tragedy. This is a series that's showcasing how, people in a family are pitting against each other. Then you have best friends who are pitting against each other. And on top of that, the whole point of the whole war is that it's a senseless war. It's a very, very senseless war. Like, everyone's starting to get the sense of that, especially in season 2. It's like everyone's like starting to realize, wow, this is a senseless war. We need to get this war to be done ASAP, basically, because there's far more important things to deal with. And I feel like people are not, I don't know, maybe just, it's really tough. And I think that, again, it's very subjective, but I think that the whole, argument of, I was expecting a big battle, it's just like, you're missing the point of what the show is. So, but again, that's just me. Like, I had no problems with it. I was just like, this is just like how Game of Thrones was. And I guess, people didn't want that. But I will say, though, like, I did hear that since then, apparently one of the reasons why they didn't end with a battle is because there was a budget, I don't want to say budget cuts, but they didn't have the budget for certain things, and which included like adding in one more battle this season. So I will say that if there was something that was hindering the creative team from even trying to go even bigger this season, then that's messed up. I will say that's super messed up, and I'm not surprised that that's happening because are you aware of the things that are happening with Warner Bros?
No.
There's been a lot of flack with Warner Bros. Like, there was, like, so David Zaslav is, I believe, the CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery, because Warner Bros. And Discovery merged about a couple years ago. And since then, there's been a lot of things that have happened with Warner Bros. Where they're canceling projects like Batgirl or Coyote versus Acme. And then there's, like, the whole task cut thing, and then the removal of TV shows and series and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not too surprised that, a lot of what's going on in terms of trying to be cost efficient and trying to cut costs and trying to reduce, I guess, because there's a debt that they're trying to, reduce that they had for like a while. And so they're doing that via like tax cuts and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not surprised that if part of the reason why, season 2 couldn't reach its fullest potential was because of the fact that there was a budget limit, then that's messed up. Because, I mean, again, like, you have House of Dragon. House of Dragon is, a spin-off from Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is literally one of the biggest shows ever in history. Like, I mean, yes, people don't like season 8. I didn't like season 8. I did not like season 8. But there's no denying that Game of Thrones is one of the biggest shows. And when you have a show like House of Dragon that is, in a way, carrying that legacy and, trying to emulate some of the best bits of Game of Thrones, only to see that they're not getting the resources to really show the fullest potential in the story. It's just like, that is super crappy. It's like, I cannot, like, it's like, you have some of the best shows out there, and you're even, limiting those shows from really doing the best that they could to show the best story. It's like, yeah, now this is where the fault lies on HBO or Warner Bros. In that case as well. So, yeah, I mean, again, I know you don't watch Game of Thrones. I know you don't watch House of Dragon. But now that you know a little bit more Warner Bros., that's basic kind of the whole crap that's been going on with Warner Bros. And Warner Bros. Has been under a lot of flake with people in the movie and TV sphere where they're like, because of some of the decisions that they made. Like, I mean, it's like, it's really bad. So, but yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, I mean, again, I think that with the finale that we did get, I was fine with it because that's just how Game of Thrones typically is. I guess people forgot how Game of Thrones functions, but Or again, some people does do have valid points, and again, I think going into season 3 it'll be a lot faster because now it was confirmed that House of Dragon season 4 will be the last season. So we're gonna have 3, then 4, and that's the end of the show. So it does seem as though that they are just about getting ready to finish off, the rest of the war. It does seem as though that we're probably gonna have a lot more battles because they did at least tease that there is going to be a battle in season 3 very early on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to happen, and then of course on top of the things that happened in season 3, season 4 is going to close things out. So yeah, so it is going to end soon at this point. Like there's only 2 more seasons and that's it for House of Dragon. So hopefully things will pick up. Again, the whole budget thing kind of does irk me a little bit, just like, oh, that's not great. So that means that House of Dragon could have actually had a lot more going to really made it even bigger and better than it actually was. But yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to say about House of Dragon right there. Because I know you don't watch it, but I mean, you should give it a try. Just saying.
I know. I've been told multiple times by you and my coworker every Sunday he would explain to me his thoughts on Monday morning of what was happening. So I feel like I've heard of it, but maybe one day. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean one day, but yeah, that's all I have to say about House of Dragon right there. Again, I mean, yes, it's such a subjective thing in terms of like how people feel about it. I've given my thoughts about it. I mean, it didn't have to have battles, and I think that the way it ended off, like I think it is what it is, and I think that it still worked out, at least in my opinion, because then it like, okay, I at least know what to anticipate for season 3. But that's all I have to say about it. So yeah, so we've talked about a lot of things, but let's get down to like the big stuff, because I know a lot of things happened because right now it's D23.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god, oh, we had a lot of things happen on that Friday night. I know you weren't caught up with everything, but I gave you some updates that were going on here and there. Let's just say that the actual event, it was supposed to happen 2 hours. It ended up being 3 hours and 4 minutes. So
Wow.
that was a bit annoying. I was like, cause I mean, here's the thing. I had a coworker who was, doing the whole event and by himself actually. And then I realized that, oh my God, there's a lot of stuff being revealed. So I kind of helped out a little bit, but oh my God, I was so exhausted by the end of it, because it ended at like 1 a.m. here, because there is a 3 hour difference, because over there it started at like 6 or 7, the event. So
Okay.
here it would have started at around like 9 or 10.
Oh yeah.
And then so for me it didn't even end until 1 a.m. So I was so
Wow.
exhausted because there were so many up. Oh my God, they dropped everything. They dropped everything from Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, just Disney, and like they dropped so much that day. Like I don't even know if we'd be able to cover everything. So we'll try to cover as much as we can. So okay, let me. I'm not even sure if I grabbed everything. I have like notes, and I'm not even sure if I grabbed everything because there was just so much from that event. And there still also were other things that happened even today, and I think they have stuff that happened yesterday too. I think with animations, we won't do animation stuff. We won't do really Hulu stuff. We'll just focus on stuff from the Friday, and maybe some park stuff. But yeah, let me just okay. So the trailers that did get dropped. So there were a couple of trailers that they did show at D23. Some of them they did show and release it to the public. Some that were not released to the public. The ones that were released to the public included Agatha All Along, Mufasa, Snow White, and Moana 2. So let's start with Moana 2. We got to see Moana's sister.
I am getting a call. Can I call you back?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Sorry.
We'll go on a quick break. All right. We'll go on a quick break. Let me. Whoops. Um. Alrighty, so we are back. So yeah, let's talk about the trailers. Of the trailers that I mentioned earlier, which ones have you seen? Have you seen anything?
For for
From
me, more
Yeah,
importantly, I've seen Lilo and Stitch. It wasn't even a trailer. It was just the
it was like the first footage. We'll talk about the first footage in a second,
yeah.
but
Um,
I was talking about like there's Mufasa, the Snow White,
yeah.
the Moana 2, and then
Mufasa I've
Agatha.
seen.
Mufasa,
Mufasa
okay.
I have seen. It looks great. I've seen I saw the first trailer for Agatha. I don't remember if they released the new one at D23.
They
I
did.
was more captivated by all of them coming out on stage and singing. That
Oh
was
yeah, the new
beautiful.
song that they have. Yeah,
Absolutely loved it.
me too.
But those
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
I didn't see. You said Moana, right?
Moana 2 and Snow White.
Did not see Moana or Snow White. I saw like clips like Moana's sister, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I've seen the Mufasa trailer and the Agatha trailer.
So let's talk a little bit of the trailers then, because for Moana 2, so I'll break it down. The sister reveal. We finally got to see the sister. I cannot wait to see Moana 2 now. I haven't seen that. And did you hear the new song that they play too? Or
Yes,
it's
it's
like
it sounds great. I'm so excited. Um,
ah.
One of the biggest things, I guess maybe you'll talk about it. I don't remember the sister in the first movie. Is this like a plot hole that I missed or just forgot? Like where did the sister come from? Like was she in the first movie or she just new?
I think she might be new. Even I can't remember.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've seen it as well. I probably would have to. I'm probably gonna have to do a rewatch myself.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't believe she was in the first movie. So she again. I think it's been about because Moana came back in 2015. So it's almost been like
No, it hasn't.
yeah,
What?
it's been a while. It's been a
No, it
while, honey.
hasn't.
At least like 2015, 2016. Like
It
nothing
came out in
beyond that.
2016?
It could be
Oh,
2016. I
yeah,
hold
I
up.
just looked it up. I just looked it up. It's a
2016, yeah.
2016.
8 years. 8 years. How about that?
OMG.
Yep. As I was like, yeah, and then there's supposed to be a live action version coming out next year
Yes,
with
very
Dwayne
excited for
Johnson,
that.
and then they had the casting for Moana as well. So yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long while.
Wow.
It's a long time. And the movie, and I bet you the movie's gonna make 1 billion, just like Inside Out
Oh,
too.
yep.
It's gonna make 1 billion, without a doubt. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see Moana 2. Again, I do have to do a rewatch. It's been a while since I've seen it,
Hmm.
but her sister's so cute. It's like, oh my god. Hopefully nothing Frozen related. Oh my god, just because they did reveal some stuff about Frozen, which we'll
Frozen
talk about in a
3.
second. Frozen 3 and maybe even 4. We'll talk about that.
Oh,
Um, this is the first time you're hearing about it.
yeah.
We'll talk about it, but yeah, that's Moana 2 right there. Again, I know you haven't seen the full trailer. I would say watch the full trailer. They also share a little bit more detail about like the plot and her journey and what her journey is going to be about. And she has to go to an island, and then she meets these native people at this island. It's like a very interesting plot, but also I really love that we get to see a little bit more of the exploration of like the Polynesian culture. So
Hmm.
again, watch it when you get the chance. You did
I
see
would like to
Mufasa.
say
Yeah, go ahead.
I did see a tweet about Moana's sister. I don't know, you
What?
probably saw it, but it said like somebody was like, she looks like she bites. And I was like, she does. She looks like she bites. And
I
looks
mean,
like she has an
yeah,
attitude, and I'm here for it.
that's how little sisters are. I mean, have you met my little
Oh,
sister?
that's true. You do have a younger sister.
I have a younger sister. Yes, I do have a younger sister, and yeah, she can be she has quite an attitude, but yeah, but let's go to Mufasa, because you did
Hmm.
see Mufasa, and I have to say, let me share like what I have to say, because I think the first trailer that I saw for it, like the teaser trailer that came out about a couple months ago, I
Hmm.
wasn't super impressed by it. I was just like kind of like whatever, because why do we need a prequel about Mufasa? Like we could just end it there, and not just that, but doing a prequel of Mufasa with the technology that we used with the 2019 Lion King, that was yeah. So I was like, okay, whatever. But then I will say, watching that second trailer, the full trailer, I will say I am a bit more interested now. I will say that I'm a bit more
Hmm.
interested now, because we get some new details about Mufasa, and apparently the fact that he technically, okay, so there are some things that I'm kind of was like, I'm a bit confused. And then it's like, okay, I like this, right? The one bit I do like is seeing that there was a point where him and Scar, whose actually real name apparently is Taka,
Mm-hmm.
so the fact that they actually used to be, brothers, they used to be like really good friends to a point where they were brothers. I was like, well, okay, that is actually interesting. That explains a lot because I mean, again, it goes back to what we saw with Lion King, where it's like, okay, so, like Mufasa and Scar seem to have had quite a history. We get the sense of that, right? And now it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, now we know for a fact that, oh, these two guys used to be good friends, and we know for a fact that something's going to, you know, we know that there's going to be something consequential that's going to happen to the point where their friendship will be tarnished. We know that, right? The fact that, we see that, okay, the one thing that kind of makes me a little bit, I would say, confused is the fact that the trailer reveals that apparently Mufasa wasn't of royal, wasn't from
Mm-hmm.
a royal bloodline. He was just, I guess, a runt,
He's
or the fact that
adopted.
he's adopted, but also the fact that there's also this implication that there's these like two rival groups
Mm-hmm.
of like lionesses. I guess I don't know if that's the right way to say it. Lions, lion groups, cubs, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but yet we have these two friends from these two different line groups who become good friends, and now it's the fact that they're implying that Mufasa stole Scar. So it's not just like
Mm-hmm.
Mufasa was really like he that it was his blood. It's the fact that he may have actually stolen Scar's, title as the rightful ruler. That I was just like, whoa, wait. So
Mm-hmm.
it does seem as though they're retconning Lion King, because wasn't the whole point of Lion King is the fact that Mufasa was from a royal bloodline, which is why Simba was supposed to be the rightful heir, and now the movie's implying the opposite. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like there are some things I'm like, okay, I like it, I love this, this dynamic that we're getting. I'm still not sure if the whole idea of, oh, Mufasa actually stole Scar's title is like, I don't know if I'm cool with that. It's like it kind of retcons a lot of things. So that's just my whole bit about it. I mean, again, I'm very interested now. Like, I'm a lot more interested after seeing this new trailer. I was like, because again, the first trailer I did not like. The second trailer I was like, okay, this has actually very interesting, but I'm so confused with some things. So and yeah, I mean, that's what I have to say about that. Again, just seeing teenage Scar and teenage Mufasa was so cute to see. But yeah, I mean, let me know what your thoughts are. Like, you've seen a trailer for sure. Like, what are your thoughts having seen a little bit more of that context?
Yeah, I think it looks good. Obviously CGI lions are kind of weird in general, but
Still weird.
like,
It's still weird.
yeah. But I like like you said, it's interesting because I feel like everybody has grown up saying like, oh, Scar's just like the uncle that was second in line. Like that's how
Mm-hmm.
I've always seen Scar, just like like the royal family. He's number two. He didn't get it. Mufasa number one. So now it's like changing the whole backstory of what everything we know.
Mm-hmm.
But it still looks good. I still, the waterfall scene is the biggest part of the trailer where I'm like, how are we surviving this waterfall scene? If
And
we
then it's
couldn't
like
survive, if we
a
couldn't
horde
survive
of
a horde of whatever
of
they were,
yeah. It's like,
I'm like,
okay.
hold on. So
I
like, I
think,
hope they
yeah.
answer that.
I will say the only thing that would make sense, and I guess I can say that this is a theory, is that um it's very possible that Mufasa and Scar could be half brothers, and maybe there is something, a deep dark secret that hasn't been, revealed yet regarding like the family. Like, it's like, okay, well, technically speaking, Scar's supposed to be the so-called ruler, but maybe some, how there's like the infidelities and all that sort of stuff. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they might actually be related. Maybe that's where they're gonna put like the pull the plot twist, or maybe I don't know. Again, I can get the sense that watching this trailer, it's like, wow, like this is actually a lot better, and I can get the sense that it is gonna have like a Shakespearean type of tragedy to it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the whole point, right?
That's yep.
Like when you
It's
look at the
Hamlet.
line, yeah. So Lion King
Okay.
is like, it's like a loose inspiration, like it's loosely inspired by Hamlet, and then even the part two is Romeo and Juliet. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So, and I get the sense that there is a Shakespearean, tragedy to it. So there has to be something tragic behind it. I think that if they're going to try and bring it back to what we got from, Lion King, because again, some things just don't add up, is that maybe there is something, that there might be something parental wise that hasn't been revealed yet. And I think that's the only way to kind of bring back the canon of what we saw with Lion King. But that's just my theory right there. Again, some things don't add up, but I'm now a little bit more intrigued. So that's Mufasa right there, of course. I mean, do you have anything last thing to say before we go on the next trailer, or?
I love how they actually said the title of the movie in the movie. Well, there can only be one Lion King, and I was like, yes, they said it. I was
They
like,
said
they did
it.
the thing.
Although that is very sacrilege to even do. So to say the title of the movie.
Well, technically, it's not the title of that movie.
True.
It's the
True.
title of the others, but I just loved it. I was like, this makes sense now.
But I mean, again, we'll see. Again, the movie comes out, I believe, the end of this year, so like December.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna take some time, but we're gonna have Moana 2, then Mufasa. So it's gonna be a big year, and I think this is gonna be a big year for Disney. This is gonna be a big year for. I guess you can say this is like the redemption year for Disney. I mean, Deadpool, Wolverine, and now you have Moana 2, and you still have Moana 2 and Mufasa lined up. So there you have it. So they're gonna be making a lot of money. Let's go on to Snow White trailer. Let's briefly talk that. I know you said you haven't seen the trailer. Have you seen at least any images or peaks or any of that sort?
Honestly, no. I saw the new poster for it.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of forgot the movie was happening again. I thought we had scrapped the movie after the original controversies of it, so I really didn't know we were still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I mean, I had a feeling that there was going to be a Snow White. Here's the thing. When I was, like, talking with my colleagues, I was like, oh, right, there's going to be the Snow White movie. And I totally forgot as well. I was like, oh, yeah, that movie is still a thing. Even though there was, like, so much backlash behind the whole film itself. Yeah, there was the whole situation with the magicals, and then now they reverted that back. They reverted that, and now they're doing dwarves again. But then it's like the CGI dwarves look really. I've seen the teaser. Again, it's not a full trailer. It's a teaser that's finally been out. I will say Rachel Zegler, amazing as usual.
Love her.
Love her. There's a bit where she is singing. Great. I mean, there's a reason why she was cast as Snow White. She can freaking sing. Her dress, I mean, it does seem budgeted. It does seem budgeted. But oh my god, my issue with I did a quick reaction to the trailer, I think, that Friday, but you can tell I was so tired. I was like, oh my god, guys, it's like so late. But to summarize, I would say that the big issue I have is that it's like so, CGI heavy. It's so CGI heavy. You can see that with the doors, you can see that with the setting, you can see that with the background. Like, even the background, like, it looks too, I want to say cartoonish, but it does give off like, oh, it's like very CGI. And I get they're trying to bring in the whimsical, fantastical vibe to the film, because that's what it is, right? I mean, that's what the whole vibe of Snow White was just like, oh yeah, it's a fantasy world, and you have lots of birds, singing birds, and dwarves, and creatures, and all that sort of stuff. But it's just like, okay, this is taking a little bit too much. Like, you can see how yellowy the whole hue is of the movie. So that's really my big issue. It's just that it's so CGI heavy, and I mean, I can't even imagine what the budget looks like for this film. I haven't even looked at the budget, but it must have been so expensive trying to fix a lot of things, because again, the movie, it's not coming till next year, but the movie has been in development for quite some time now, and we're only getting it till next year. It's just like, it's a bit ridiculous. And I mean, Gal Gadot, she's all right. I mean, I've said this before, I'm not the biggest fan of Gal Gadot. I think she seems all right. Again, we don't really get to see a lot of footage of Gal Gadot as the evil queen, so whatever. But really, if there's any reason why I'm gonna watch this film at this point, it's just gonna be Rachel Zegler. That's the only reason why. But I would imagine this movie's not gonna do so well when it comes out, because the movie comes out, I believe, March of next year. No, yes, March of next year. Yes, March of next year. But I don't think it's gonna do well, because there's just so much there's just so much controversy behind this movie that it's just like, wow, it's probably not going to do well whatsoever. But yeah, again, I know you haven't seen it, but I mean, is there anything you want to add to it, or
No, yeah, I mean, again, I pretty much will see it for Rachel
Rachel
Zegler.
Zegler? Mm-hmm.
I just looked it up really quick because I didn't know it comes out March of next year.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like Disney's all of their live action princess movies are always in March. Did you catch on to that?
No, because Little Mermaid came out in May.
Oh, I forgot Little Mermaid. Didn't see that movie.
Yeah. It looks like
Cinderella.
Little
'Cause
Mermaid came out in May.
Cinderella. Yeah, because Cinderella came out March of whenever it did, because it was Cinderella when it came out actually came out on my birthday. Beauty and the
Right.
Beast
Okay.
came out a few days after my birthday in March, and then now I guess Snow White too. That's weird that they put Ariel in May. I wanted a March thing.
Ariel was May. I was like, Ariel was May.
Completely forgot that movie came out. Still didn't see that.
But even Moana, like the Moana live action, I don't believe is coming out in a March. I don't think it is. I believe that's coming out in the summer of 2025 of next year. I believe. I don't know. I have to check. It's so hard to keep up with dates. But yeah, I mean, it comes out next year. At least you get to see Rachel Zegler. I know how much you love Rachel Zegler, so it's like it's like a treat for you just to see her sing and dance and all that sort of stuff. So,
Or
but
Maria from West Side Story.
Maria, Lucy Gray Baird. Oh my God, she was perfect as Lucy. I'm telling you, she was perfect at Lucy. So, but yeah, let's get down to like the last trailer that came out that night, which was Agatha All Along. I know you said you watched the original. You did not see the second one that came out, right? You only know the new song.
Yes.
Okay,
that was
so
beautiful.
no, I have to say, like, the trailer so the song actually is in the new trailer, by the way. This the new song that they sang at the D23 is in the new trailer. So I had to say, like, again, I think watching that new trailer, I'm even more invested in seeing this series. Although I will say tonally, it does seem a little bit different now watching that second trailer. Like, the first one, it definitely gave up that spooky vibe. The second one is like, okay, it definitely kind of like tones down that spooky vibe and brings a little bit more of that witchiness, but also a little bit of the levity. Because they actually show a little bit more of Aubrey Plaza as this like this witch of some sort, right? Like of some sort of like, magical being, and like, there is like a journey that they're going through to reach this certain, house. And it does seem as though that the whole story seems to be about, Agatha trying to get her powers back because, we know what happened in WandaVision. You've seen WandaVision, right?
Of course.
So in WandaVision, remember that, Wanda took control, basically mind controlled Agatha. She's now Agnes. But then, of course, what happened with Multiverse of Madness, it seems as though that she could be dead. So it's like, okay, now the influence of Wanda is starting to kind of fade away, but Agatha is still kind of hasn't really recovered from that control. So it's like, okay, she's trying to get her powers from the looks of it, and now she's using these people to help her reach to that destination. It's like, okay, we get that whole journey. Again, it gives it a lot of Hocus Pocus vibes, and even with the new song, it's just like, oh, that really gives me Hocus Pocus vibes now. So it's like, okay, and just the timing of it's great. I love that that's coming out in September, because then as it releases each of the episodes, it'll get more into, the spooky month, which is October. It's like, okay, this is perfect. So I'm really interested to see this. I swear to God, I'm telling you, there's one point in the trailer, again, no one has confirmed this to me, so who knows? Maybe I might be wrong. But I know this was like a whole phenomena that happened back when WandaVision came out, and it even stuck around with Multiverse of Madness. But I swear, I think the devilish figure may have been Mephisto.
Oh, I remember that from WandaVision. You're right.
Yeah. Remember, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Mephisto's gonna show up," and Mephisto never showed up. But I swear, watch the trailer.
I currently actually am.
You are?
Yes, I have it on mute as I'm watching it, but yes, I do see the devilish figure.
I swear to God, I think that is Mephisto. I could be wrong though, but I swear it looks like Mephisto. I could be wrong. I could be so wrong, but that looks like Mephisto. I tried asking a colleague. He never really responded to me. I was like, okay. So we'll never know if that's really Mephisto or if we're, it's somebody else. Like, it's like, oh, we went through all of that 2 years ago, and it's like, oh, do we want to relive Do we want to relive that kind of time where everyone's like, oh, Mephisto? Obviously, there was no Mephisto. But now it's like, oh, maybe there might be Mephisto this time. Who knows? But I'm excited to see it. I mean, I think you're going to see it, right?
Oh, definitely.
It looks so good.
I'm
It looks
so
so
excited.
Good. It looks so good. It's like, oh my god. So I mean, again, I'm hoping it turns out good. I know that, when it comes to Marvel Disney Plus shows, they've been more misses than hits. I think the one I've truly, truly enjoyed was WandaVision and Loki.
Yeah.
WandaVision and Loki. I know you haven't seen Loki season 2, but you have to jump on Loki season 2. Like, it's absolutely brilliant. And the guys who actually wrote Loki season 2 are, again, we'll talk about Daredevil in a second, but they're involved with Daredevil. So, but yeah, I'm hoping Agatha All Along turns out to be great, because, I mean, the trailers, the footage, they look really promising. Even though I don't believe Agatha really had a comic in the first place. So I think this is kind of like the first time we're really seeing more original characters kind of having their own, like, Marvel kind of spin-off. But yeah. I cannot wait to see that. Let's see what else. Okay, let's go into Lilo and Stitch, because I know you want to talk about Lilo and Stitch so bad. Oh my god. I mean, you're aware of the controversy behind Lilo and Stitch, right? And
wait,
the whole...
no.
You don't know the controversy?
There's a controversy? No.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it with the live action, the filming? Like...
Yeah, the live action. Yeah, I'm talking about the live action.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything.
Oh wow, there's a lot of people do not want this remake, for one thing, just so you know. But the big thing was, there's been a lot of issues regarding the colorism for this film. Because now I will say this, the girl who got cast as Lilo, I think is perfect. I think that's a perfect casting. The issue was more so the casting for Nani. And how the actress who's playing her, like, I think her name is, like, Sydney something. I know her first name is Sydney. She was, like, a light-skinned actor. And a lot of people are not happy with that. Because, Nani and Lilo are definitely on the dark-skinned, side. And, that's what really makes them... And, that's, like, a lot of people are arguing that, that's what makes them stand out as Hawaiians and all that sort of stuff. And it's just, like... And now everyone's, like, looking at the Nani cast, and they're like, oh, are they really going to change Nani and this whole skin tone situation? It's like, oh. So there's been a lot of controversy with that. There was also one with the casting, I believe, with Nani's boyfriend, and how initially they had one person playing the character, then that person got fired, and I think got replaced by someone else. I might be wrong about that one. It's been a while, because it's been quite a while. Because I think something had happened, because I think there was some, some damning tweets that person had done. I think it was like racist comments, and so he lost the job of, like, Nani's boyfriend, and now someone else is now playing Nani's boyfriend. It's like a lot of issues have been happening behind the scenes. I mean, not behind the scenes, but, like, just, like, there's been a lot of controversy behind it. So a lot of people are just, like, meh about Lilo and Stitch. But I will say, watching that footage of the first look of Stitch, because, like, there hasn't been any indication of what Stitch was going to look like.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, there were, like, you can see in some of, like, the behind the scenes photos where you can see there's, like, a stand-in, like, stick that they use to, like, represent Stitch, but we haven't seen, like, an actual, like, first look of Stitch. And I have to say, now that we actually got the first footage, I was like, oh my god, Stitch actually looks really cute.
Yes.
Huggable and cute. I was like, oh wow. Like, so they did not have, like, a whole Sonic moment, thankfully. I will say that I wish he was a little bit darker. Like, how Stitch is like a very, has a really pronounced blue color. And it's like, okay, you can see that in the first footage that he does have, it's a little bit more lighter. But that being the case, like, when you look at him and seeing kind of the texture of, like, the live action Stitch, you want to hug him, right? He looks like a teddy bear.
Yes.
I can't even imagine how merchandise sales are going to be for this film, because, oh my god.
I'm going to have to be controlled of not to spend my money. It's going to be very bad.
I want it so bad. I want a plush live action Stitch. He looks so cute. I love how they were even, like, emoting all the specific Stitch behaviors that he has in the movie and the series. I was like, oh my god, these are all, like, the iconic parts of Stitch. And I was like, oh my god, but why are they emoting so hard? But yeah, I mean, having seen the first one, I was like, okay, this actually does not look too bad. I mean, design wise, Stitch actually looks great. He's cute, adorable. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Like, what do you think about seeing the first footage? Like, what are your thoughts, with the fact that the movie is eventually coming out soon? Because it was supposed to like, came out the end of this year, but
Mm-hmm.
now it got moved to next year. So, but what are your thoughts? Again, like knowing the fact that there's going to be a live action Lilo and Stitch, now that you know a little bit about the controversy, and but on top of that, we've now seen the first look of live action Stitch. Like, what are your thoughts?
I am excited. I want to say like Lilo and Stitch is like my favorite Disney animated movie. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's we'll put it that way. Like I have the Stitch plush. I have Stitch slippers. My AirPod case is Stitch. Like I have multiple Stitches. Um, so like I've been waiting for this movie to come out. So and I saw the behind the scenes when they were filming in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think they're gonna do it. I feel like they're going to do this movie justice because like it's been so long since we've had anything, and like they took out the ride from Magic Kingdom, Alien Escape. I think they did. Pretty sure they did. So it's like
Definitely,
we've
at
been
least
like,
in the Disney World side.
yes, on the Disney World side. I don't know about Disneyland, but and it's such a lovable character and series that like you said, like the merchandise still sells like everywhere. Like Stitch is so big. I was literally
Very
at
popular
Books.
character.
I went to Books a Million the other day, and they had so much Stitch merch just because Stitch is Stitch. Um, so with the controversy, I mean, I get it.
It's
We
not
want,
comic. It's not character accurate to what we
yeah,
saw in
like
animation. Yeah.
yeah, it's not character accurate. I looked up who the cast was because I had no clue. Um,
The girl is
but
perfect. The young girl
yeah,
playing Lilo
the
is perfect.
Lilo's perfect. She is Lilo. That is her new name now. I feel like as long as like they do the character and the culture justice at the same time, and then don't take that aspect away but then again, it's the whole thing of like everybody comes in different shapes, size, colors, but they're still from that place.
Yeah.
So
It's like as long as they still have the heart of being Hawaiian and that's what they
yes,
have, that's all that matters. And I believe the actor who is playing Nani, I believe she is Hawaiian. Like she has
yeah,
Hawaiian like and just ancestry. So she is Hawaiian, just that she doesn't have the visuals of a lot of what a lot of people would have imagined for Nani.
yeah, and I mean, you know, that's what I feel like it is. It's like
And I
yes, we
think
love the
mhm.
animation, but as long as it's the heart and soul you have, then you'll be fine.
And I was also gonna say is that one thing is that yes, we've had so many adaptations for so many things, and I have to say, like, I think when we do look at remakes or adaptations, it's like, yes, we would love it to be as accurate as possible to the original source, but we've seen time and time again how even with movie adaptations that are live action, sometimes when it comes like just the way that a movie is set up, it just has to be made in a certain way, and we've seen so many times that not everything can be replicated, because it's one thing for it to be animated, it's another thing to be live action, and it just has to be, again, there's a reason why it's called adaptation, right? You're trying to recreate something but also trying to do it in a way that it fits in that medium, right?
Mhm.
A good example, like Hugh Jackman, right? We've seen with
Mhm.
the comic accurate versions, he's supposed to be 5 foot. Wolverine's supposed to be 5'3", and he's supposed to be a small character. But and yeah, again, there was backlash with Hugh Jackman where it's like, oh, Hugh Jackman is 6'2". He's nothing like the Wolverine from the comics. Yet we've seen how that attitude has changed since, because now like everyone loves Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and it just shows that And then we saw what would have been the case if we did try to do a Wolverine accurate size, right? The 5'3". It would have been ridiculous. So I think it's just a matter of, well, yes, I get it. We would love, we're part of this culture where it's like, okay, yes, we want, if there were to be ever be a remake or adaptation of something, we want it to be accurate to the original source as possible. But it also needs to be realized that not everything, it's not possible in every scenario. Again, it's an adaptation. They try to be flexible about the changes, and sometimes not everything can be replicated from action to live
Mhm.
action. I mean, from animation to live action, it's just not possible sometimes. And again, the matter of fact is that as long as the actor does understand what it feels like to be Hawaiian and understands the whole Hawaiian culture, that's what should really matter. So you really raise a good point with that. It's like, okay, well, I get where there's that, that backlash, and I get where everyone's really upset about that, but you also have to realize that, it's not going to be always picture perfect, replication of everything. So you just have to, go with the flow of things. And so, yeah, I will be watching it. I mean, I grew up with Lilo Stitch as well. I watched the series on Disney Channel, and I absolutely loved watching Lilo. I loved Stitch. They were just, again, seeing those characters, and again, after so many years, seeing just any sort of project behind Lilo and Stitch happening now. She's like, okay, it's bringing back my childhood for me. I'll look forward to it again. Just seeing Stitch in live action is just like, wow, I want a bear now of Stitch so bad. Again, the merchandise sales are gonna go off the roof whenever that starts. So, but yeah, that's Lilo and Stitch right there. Let's go down and quickly go through some of the other reveals at D23 because there's so much. Let's go into like some of the general Disney stuff. Incredibles 3 got confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Avatar is now fire and ash. We'll talk about that really quickly. And Frozen 4. So Incredibles 3. I'm surprised that they actually did announce this so soon. Because I feel like a lot of people were like, oh, Incredibles 3 is not gonna happen, and then suddenly we're like, what? This was like probably the biggest bombshell that Incredibles 3 is happening. So yeah, I know a lot of people are happy. I know lots and lots of people happy. I know that our buddy is gonna be very happy. Our buddy, our good buddy at the Films Committee. But yeah, we're all happy to see Incredibles 3. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but anything to say about that?
I don't remember how Incredibles 2 ended, because I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen in Incredibles 3. Like, again, it's been forever.
I will say, yeah, it's like the first one is better than the second one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know how did it end, and what are we doing? So, I mean,
well, there was a villain, and there was at one point, because remember, there was a whole other group of group of heroes that showed up with Elastigirl, because Elastigirl became the main figure of superheroes. Yes. I think there was at one point where it was almost like you remember how in Civil War there was like the whole Sokovia Accords and how there had to be the superhero registration and stuff like that. I think that was kind of what Incredibles 2 was about. It was kind of in that line somewhere where it's like, oh, we have all these other superheroes, and then I think at some point they were like mind controlled at the end of the movie. Yes. And then that's when you had the kids come in and save the day. It's been a while though. I have to rewatch it too. I can't remember who the villain is, so that's the one thing. But we'll see how Incredibles 3 is. And on top of that, like, we also have Frozen 4. So Frozen 3 was confirmed. That's coming out in 2027. They showed some concept images for this. But in the actual presentation, they said that because there's just so much material that they have to cover, and there's so many questions that haven't been addressed yet from the first two movies, that because of those unanswered questions, they need another movie. They basically imply that Frozen 4 is happening. They didn't confirm it. They implied that it was going to happen. They were like, yeah, we got to split this into 2 movies. So it's like, oh, so we are getting a Frozen 4. So, yeah, what are your thoughts having to hear the fact that we're probably going to have Frozen 4? I mean, I'm not surprised. More money for Disney, but but your thoughts?
Obviously the Frozen franchise is huge. And like
huge,
like it's
$1 billion.
We're
talking $1 billion, both films.
Yeah, like, and like not even including that they just opened the park like a few years ago in Shanghai or Tokyo or one of the parks. I don't remember which one, but it's like I don't have plot holes. I guess I have to rewatch it because I'm like, I don't have any questions as to what's happening.
Apparently there's some unanswered questions. I mean, probably maybe something regarding their parents, because remember they addressed a little bit how their parents had died, and then we got to see the shipwreck in the second movie. So maybe behind that, and then maybe a little bit behind, who their parents' parentage is, and just all of that, because we got to see a little bit more of of their other side of their kind of like their heritage, I guess you can say. So maybe there.
Maybe. I still am with the theory that the parents then landed on the island and then had Tarzan. Still with that theory. I thought that was fun.
Did you say Tarzan?
But, have you not heard that theory? When like Frozen first came out?
No. I just know that there was a footage of Rapunzel from Tangled and how she showed up with Ryder, and that's all I remember. And so that's why they're in a connected world. That's the only thing. World.
The other fan theory is that the parents they died on the
ship.
Supposedly they didn't die. The ship crashed, which was the ship that fell in Ariel, the Little Mermaid, and then they landed on an island, and then they had a baby, and it ended up being Tarzan, because we don't know Tarzan's actual parents. Yeah, there's a whole interconnected fan theory from Frozen. They're all connected somehow. So,
oh my god. Okay.
So yeah.
Well,
I mean, so I think that's true, but I mean, I'm literally currently trying to look up like what happened in Frozen 2. Okay, she saved. Anna becomes queen. Anna became queen.
Anna became the queen of Arendelle, and then Elsa became the queen of like the forest, because that's what happened. So they're both queens, and they're both operating it, and they've now like created this bridge where they now have that connected world between Arendelle and the rest of the forest.
I feel like it's kind of like, I mean, I get like, what plot holes are there? For me, they're like, I don't have any plot holes. Oh, and then I will say, okay, the whole Rapunzel Flynn Rider fan theory is Hans is like one of 7 brothers or something. His 2 brothers are the ones that Flynn Rider is trying to get away from in Tangled. Those 2 guys with the eye patches on. If you remember that.
Yeah.
Those characters.
Yeah.
Those are Hans's brothers that were sent, and he mentioned his brothers. That's how they're connected. It's a whole thing.
Oh my god.
My cousins are really into Frozen, so I know like the whole Frozen lore of everything. But again, with Frozen 3, I mean, I feel like I'm gonna watch it, obviously, but I really don't know like what's gonna happen. And then Frozen 4, I guess they're just just ending part 2. You know how they split every movie, but like But I don't know what plot holes. Like they're both queens.
You tell me.
Like
it's like okay. I guess let's make more money out of Frozen and more soundtracks and.
Yeah, I mean, our queen Indina Menzel will sing another banger, and it's gonna be great.
Yep.
I guess you can do So I'm looking at, she accepted Kristoff's marriage proposal. I guess the wedding in Frozen 3. Like, I don't know what else can happen. Like,
anything can happen on this, but I mean, we'll see. I'm like, we'll see.
It's gonna be exciting. I really did not know that Frozen 2 came out so long ago. Again, and every movie you're mentioning, I'm like looking up, and I'm like, I was like not even in college yet when these movies came out, and I felt like they came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I would even say some of that even for me, and it's like, wow, like these came out so long ago, so I'm in the same boat. So yeah, that's Frozen right there. Let's also get into Avatar, because Avatar got a title, Fire and Ash, of course. I mean, it was being teased that the third movie was going to be focused on the Fire Tribe, so that was already kind of confirmed, and now we got the title, Fire and Ash. It's like, I swear to God, this is turning into Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I'm telling you, it's like saying, like, when you texted me that, you were like, Avatar, Fire and Ash, and I was like, oh, wow, another, like, in my head, I'm like, another Last Airbender movie. I was like, cool, good for them.
Another Airbender movie. But then it's like, so it's like, okay, the first movie was focused on the tribe of I guess you can say earthbenders, because they value their earth plants and everything, so I guess you can call them the earthbenders. Then we got to see the water tribe, so that's the water tribe in the second movie, and now it's like, oh, now we're gonna meet the fire tribe. Now all we need is the airbenders, and we've made the full 4 corners of the box of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, okay, It's like maybe, yeah, maybe you took the Avatar thing a bit too seriously,
Yeah.
too closely, maybe. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, again, I'm not the biggest Avatar fan, to be honest with you. I've mentioned this to
Mhm.
you many times. It's just like Avatar is just not like, I know everyone loves Avatar. Everyone talks about Avatar. It's like, I'm not really in that hype. Just because for me, it's just like Pocahontas with blue people. That's what it is. Pocahontas with blue people. At least that's the
Yeah.
first movie. That's the first
Yeah.
movie.
The first movie.
I did like the second movie a little better because it does go a little bit on a more original route. But yeah, I mean, it's just not a franchise I'm interested in. Like, I'll watch it. It's not to say I won't watch it. I'll watch it. Just Avatar is just not a thing for me. So, but yeah, that's just me. I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna watch it regardless, right?
I haven't seen the second one.
Oh, yeah, it's long. But I will say, I think what I liked about the second one does have like an actual like message behind it, and like a environmental message. Like there was
Oh,
one
that's
part
good.
that really broke my heart. I was like, oh no, they did not just like when you watch it, you will be broken. You will be broken with one part. I was like, oh my god, like as someone who loves animals, it broke my
Mhm.
heart. There was one part that really broke me. I was like, oh my god, like, yeah, now you got me pissed. But yeah, I'll watch the third one, of course. See how it goes and what kind of Avatar shenanigans they're gonna pull off. Fire Tribe, of course. So yeah, let's go down to like the one Pixar thing I actually do have listed, and that is Toy Story 5. I want to talk about Toy Story
Toy
5
Story
because
5.
I will say this. I love Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 broke me. The ending made me cry because I was just like, oh my god, this is like a reflection of my life. Me
Mhm.
getting old. It's like, oh my god, that's like
Mhm.
the perfect trilogy. Then you have Toy Story 4. We're all just like, why? We just had the most perfect ending to a trilogy, and now you're bringing it down for Toy Story 4, which, of course, I mean, yes, I know why they brought it because they make so much money out of Toy Story movies. I mean, Toy Story 3
Mhm.
made $1 billion. I'm not sure about Toy Story 4, but it was like Toy Story 4 was like, alright. I wasn't a big fan of it. Then they, of course, they confirmed Toy Story 5. We're like, oh, of course, they're gonna confirm Toy Story 5. It's like, but how they're gonna deal with Woody? Oh, apparently Woody's coming back. Like, oh.
Mhm.
So we're just gonna disregard everything from Toy Story 4.
Yes.
Alrighty. So it's like, okay. So we got a little bit more of context about Toy Story 5 at D23. Yes, they confirmed Woody is back. They even showed like an actual like first look that's now been shared publicly.
Mhm.
So we do see Woody is back. As how he came back, we don't know yet. We'll probably find out that part out later. But I will say this: the concept that they have for Toy Story 5, I'm
Mhm.
intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Oh
I think
yeah.
this is something that we've been waiting for quite some time now because we're like, yeah, but nowadays, toys are not, physical toys are not something that a lot of kids play with because now we're in that digital age and that digital era where it's like, people are basically on their iPhones and tablets. It's like there isn't really a lot of play toy involved in it unless like again they're collectibles. Like I will do collectibles for instance, but
Mhm.
but then but so it's like, oh, okay, and then now it's like, oh boom, there you have it. Like they have an actual very big story that makes so much sense, and that is what if the toys were now getting pitting themselves against electronics. It's like, whoa, now we're really getting down to deep shit. It's like, okay, now you caught my attention. So um but yeah, we've now heard a little bit more context about Toy Story 5. Yes, Woody's coming back. He's coming back. How? We don't know. But electronics, oh boy, that is now opening up a little bit of that door of, okay, now we're starting to see a little bit more conflict. I mean, hearing
Mhm.
that, just like, does that change your perspective about, okay, maybe Toy Story 5 is something that's worth seeing in this case?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, yeah, because it's very, again, it's like it follows the path of the kids who watch Toy Story are growing up. And even though for us it's weird, there are people our age who are having children. So it's like they're also dealing with that, like the iPad kids, and like we kind of like missed that generation. Like we're like the generation right before iPad kids started, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um So it's like, yeah, like how are they gonna show it on TV because it's something so relevant today. So I'm very excited to see like the approach they're taking, and like obviously they're gonna have to age up Bonnie, um and now
Yeah,
she's
I
into
don't.
that.
Yeah, I
So
wonder if they're gonna age up Bonnie. That's gonna be a big question for sure.
yeah.
Um, but go on.
um no, but yeah, it's like,
So I'm very
I feel like the
excited.
concept's very original, it's very interesting. Like it's kind of like something that we wanted Inside Out to do also, like because Inside Out's so like real, like our
Mm-hmm.
emotions, and it's like, okay, now the Toy Story, it's like, yeah, this is happening. iPad kids, what's going on with them? So I'm excited for it. I
They
need
have
the
not
whole.
confirmed. They have not confirmed Inside Out 3 yet, but I feel like it's gonna happen soon. It's
I
gonna
feel like
happen
it has
soon.
to happen. I need Riley like during high school or the beginning of college. I need to
It
figure
has to,
out.
yeah,
I need more
yeah,
anxiety in there because that was very prevalent.
yep.
But um, yeah, Toy Story 5 looks interesting. The first thing they need to address, and they need to address it in the trailer, I feel like, is how the heck does Woody show up?
Yeah,
Like that's gonna be
that's a
like the
big
first
question.
thing.
That's the big question. How does Woody come back given what we saw in Toy Story 4? Like
Yeah.
big question mark, right? We're just gonna have to wait and see because again, I believe it doesn't come out till summer of 2026 is what they said. So they still have a lot of time to figure out the
That's
kinks of it. But
oh, that's a
yeah,
long
we
time from
won't
now.
we won't get like any trailers like at this point. Like it won't come
Yeah.
like we won't get any first trailer until like the end of next year. So, but yeah, Toy Story 5 right there again. The idea that like again, I was like, oh, another Toy Story movie, whatever. And it's like, oh, electronics. Okay, maybe you just caught my attention. Maybe there's something we got right there. So, but yeah, that's now gotten my attention. We'll probably see how they're gonna figure out the whole Woody situation, but yeah, that's there right there with Toy Story 5.
Have they
Uh huh.
confirmed that they're all coming back, the cast?
I believe they did confirm Tim Allen as Buzz. He's coming back. We
Okay.
They haven't been saying anything about Tom Hanks yet. They haven't said anything. There's been silence about whether or not he's coming back.
Got it.
There has been
Okay.
silence. We don't know what's going on with that. Maybe he is coming back. We don't. No. I have no idea. Like everyone has been asking, oh, is Tom Hanks coming back? But there hasn't been like an official announcement that oh Tom Hanks is definitely coming back. There hasn't been any of that yet. We see Woody, but
Hmm.
what's going on with Tom Hanks? I don't know. We have again. That's the one that everyone's just still asking the big question about. So there you have it. Um. Alrighty, let's get into Marvel really quickly because a lot of things came out. The two big ones I want to talk about is really Daredevil and Fantastic Four. So we
Hmm.
can quickly go through those. And then we can end off with Star Wars. So Daredevil. Okay, I'm excited. I cannot tell you how excited I am. Have you seen the one from Netflix? The original
No.
series from Netflix? You need to see it. It's
I
absolutely
know you've told me
amazing.
multiple
It's
times.
amazing. I remember I was rewatching it last year at some point because I thought we were gonna get it this year, and then that got moved into 2025. But I still need to finish my rewatch for Daredevil because I'm super excited to see Daredevil. Now that is not without any. Again, the whole journey for Daredevil has been quite a lot for me. I can't even imagine just the journey of that. How it was canceled, then it came back, and then seeing Charlie Cox return as Daredevil, and it's like, oh my
Hmm.
god. And then, of course, the series got announced, and but then there was also like the fact that oh, technically speaking, the Daredevil that we're seeing in the Disney Plus series is not going to be the same as Netflix, or it's not going to be as the same. But then after something had happened last year, suddenly everyone's like, oh, by the way, this is going to be the Daredevil from the Netflix series, and we're talking like
Hmm.
violence, the graphics, everything. I was like, oh, so we are deaf. So I will say, like, when they initially said that they were not going to do the Netflix, I was a little bit disappointed. But then when they flipped that, I was like, oh my god, thank you. I was like, yo, the best Daredevil that we've seen has been the Netflix Daredevil, where he is very violent, where he is, there is a bit of this grayness of who, Murdoch is. And seeing a character like Kingpin and just how he brutally, just all of that, right? I'm trying not to mention some words because there are some words that can get flagged here on YouTube, but still, like, I was just like, oh my god, I want to have the Daredevil that we saw in the Netflix series, and we're getting that. Now, that is not, again, not without a lot of the things that happen behind the scenes. So, again, initially they had, like, finished most of Daredevil, like, last year. Then the strikes happened that delayed it. And then it's like, okay, so the filming got paused. Then, in the middle of the strikes, at the end of, I think, the summer, the report came out that, oh, so Marvel had seen the footage of what had already been available. They're deciding to redo almost everything from the show from scratch. They, I believe, removed like the writers. Then they brought in the writers from Loki to do Daredevil, which honestly, I'll tell you right now, is the best decision, especially after watching season 2 of Loki. Best decision. So they basically redid the shoot for. So they basically redid everything for Daredevil from scratch, basically. So they redid it. Then some of the characters that we had seen in the original Netflix series, who we initially thought were gonna come back, are now coming back. So we're seeing Foggy, Karen, even the Punisher's coming back. Kingman's coming back, and we did actually get to see Kingman in, Hawkeye. Then he showed up in Echo. So it's like, okay, we're finally getting that Daredevil that we got from Netflix. So I am very excited to see Daredevil born again. I am gonna be skeptical because, again, this is like Disney. This is the Disney version. Although, again, they are saying that they're gonna maintain more of that mature style that we saw with the Netflix one. So it's like, if that's the case, I'm excited. I wonder what's gonna happen. What makes me a little bit relieved is the fact that not only did they do the reshoots and, basically redid the whole series, but they brought in the writers from Loki season 2. There's these two guys from Loki season 2 who wrote a whole chunk of Loki. I can't remember their names. I think one of them is like Justin or something, but I'm familiar with their work because they actually did a movie called like Endless, and it's such a really well done movie. Like, if you have not seen it, I would recommend you see it, and it makes a lot of sense why they were hired to do Loki, because the movie Endless is very involved with the whole time loop situation. So I was like, oh, they're perfect for Loki season 2. And then Loki season 2 finale, beautiful. Like, I mean, one of the best arcs I've seen for Loki. I mean, you have to see season 2. I'm telling you, watch season 2. It's brilliant. And so hearing the fact that, they hired the same guys to be involved with Daredevil, I was like, I have a little bit more faith now. And of course, they presented, Daredevil. We did not get a trailer, although there is a leak trailer. I'm not going to watch it just because I want to see, the best quality of it. So it's like, I'm not going to see the bootleg of it. But there is a leak trailer out there. And there's been some reveals. And so one thing they did reveal is that there's going to be 2 villains, Muse and White Tiger. So they're going to be in the show. And apparently it's going to be R-rated. So again, M for mature. So there's going to be a lot more of that Netflix tone of like the violence, the grimness, the darkness. I was like, oh, brilliant. This is the Daredevil I want, right? And then apparently there's even this twist that, Daredevil and Kingpin are going to be working together. They actually mentioned this at the actual event. So it's not a spoiler. This was mentioned. But so that's an interesting bit, because now you haven't seen Echo, right?
No.
You didn't see. So at the end of Echo, Kingpin, he decides to run as a mayor, which is like right on point with the comics. So that's what's basically gonna happen going into Daredevil, is that he's going to run for mayor because he's so tired of, like, how it's being run and everything like that. And it's like, when you think about it, it's like, oh, this is so too on the nose with like reality, but it's like, okay, whatever. But I think the coolest thing about the fact is that they also confirmed that there's going to be a season 2. The fact that they confirmed that they're doing a season 2 and they're also going to be shooting that very soon, I mean, that tells me a lot of things. I think, for one, it makes it seem as though that Marvel must be very, very confident that this series is going to be very good. Because you don't just confirm season 2 when season 1 hasn't even been out yet. Season 1's nowhere near being out yet. Season two does. I mean, the show doesn't come back, and I don't think the show premieres until beginning of 2025 of next year. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's, I believe we don't even have a date yet. By the way, we don't even have a date yet of when Daredevil premiere is gonna be. We don't
They
even have
said it
that.
comes out in March, and that's all we know.
That's all we know. March of next year, and we don't even know if that's still gonna stick. That's another thing, because
Mm-hmm.
then we still have, a lot of things have been moving around. But the fact of the matter is that they actually confirmed season two way ahead before even like, like 6 months, 6 7 months before even Daredevil even comes out. It's like, okay, they must be very confident about Daredevil doing so well. Like the first season that comes, like the first season, like the first Reborn series, for it to be coming. It's like they must have some confidence, because you don't just confirm season two like right away like that. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
very unprecedented. So the fact that they even confirmed season two, I'll just like they didn't even do that for Loki, by the way. Like Loki, we didn't even know if there was gonna be season two. Like even before the premiere, we knew that season two was gonna happen at the end of season one. Daredevil is not even out yet, and they're already confirming season two. So it's like, okay, they must have some really good stuff going on in Daredevil that they're already confident in continuing this with season two. Now, it could also be possible that the reason why they confirmed season two is that, maybe they need to dedicate a little bit more time on certain things, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe the show might be a bit more integral in the storyline that they're going forward to set up things like Avengers Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I doubt it, because like I believe, because of the fact that they actually do have that Marvel banner now, where it is dedicated to like more standalone mature content, like that we saw with Echo, where it's like you don't really have to watch Echo to understand the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That maybe, maybe it's just more of a continuation of what's going on with Daredevil. But even with that being the case, right, the fact that there is going to be a season two makes me wonder if, like, oh, they have something really good to showcase for Born Again. And I wonder just how much of, they're gonna replicate from the Netflix version and bring it to this version that's gonna be playing on Disney Plus. So um again, I know you've not seen the
Mm-hmm.
original show, and again, I recommend you see it. Like, at least watch it before the new one comes out.
Yeah, I definitely will.
And it's on Disney Plus, by the way. So if you have Disney
Oh.
Plus, it's there. And if you have Hulu, it's there. Um, but I have to tell you, like, I'm so excited to see Daredevil. Again, after the whole hubbub from last year, I was like, oh god, this is not good. But the fact that they are bringing back just about 90% of the Netflix version, I'm just like, okay, I will be okay going into this new era of Daredevil, right there. But I want to hear your thoughts. Again, I know you've not seen it, but hearing the fact that, we're getting these characters, knowing where Kingpin is going, as well as the fact that there is a season two renewal. Like, what are your thoughts about like going into Daredevil, and just what you feel like personally in terms of your anticipation of this series coming forward, as well as, having seen little bits and pieces of Charlie Cox's Daredevil, because he has appeared in She-Hulk, he has appeared in No Way Home, he's appeared in Echo. Now he's finally gonna have his moment to shine again.
Yeah, I definitely, of course, like I know mainly Daredevil from you. Um, so I feel like it's very like finally, because like you and like so many people love this character. So he's finally getting like you said, like the recognition he deserves. Um, on the Disney stage and not just the Netflix stage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and yeah, like the only I know him from No Way Home and She-Hulk and Kingpin from the Hawkeye
Yeah.
show. Um, and I feel like, with this new whatever Marvel's doing, like I feel like he's going to be a major plot in it, like major character, which
Mm-hmm.
whatever the direction they're going to, because of like how much the fans have loved him. And like, they already announced season two. Like they can't just get rid of him. They can't like be like, all right, like 2 seasons you're done. No more Daredevil. I feel like it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be for the long run. So we'll see what happens with
and
him.
and my main question, because I know, again, you're more familiar with the Marvel side, where it's very much PG-13, it's very,
Hmm.
family. It's like it's enough where it's like it's okay for a family to watch, you know, anything Marvel, up until, again, recently with Daredevil, up until this recently with Deadpool Wolverine, where we actually got to see a little bit more of this mature Marvel. So now knowing the fact that Daredevil that we are getting for the Disney Plus series, it's not going to be the Disney-fied like version of it, but it's actually going to be more of that Netflix tone, where it is very grim, very dark, where it is very broody, where it definitely has that darker tone to it. What do you feel about that, knowing that that's just going to be the Daredevil show that we're going to have, rather than, you know, Disney trying to be a bit more of that family oriented style, where it's like, oh, we're going to dim down the violence, we're going to dim down, you know, the bloodiness, we're going to dim down just kind of how complex and dark, you know, Matt Murdock is as a character. Like, weird thoughts about going to the fact that they're actually leaning more towards that, you know, that Netflix approach to it.
I'm glad because I feel like Deadpool and Wolverine was like their tester, you know? Obviously,
Interesting.
like
Yeah.
seeing how does the audience react to this being under the Disney name? You know, and then yes, people have problems with it, as people do with everything.
Yeah.
But they're seeing, you know, how well Daredevil and whatever his Ryan Reynolds, how well it took to audiences and how people are liking this approach. So now they're like, all right, you know, this is like, all right, we can do Daredevil as the Netflix version and see where they're going. It's gonna, you know, Disney's of course like how Walt described it, and I know too much into the history of Disney. I'm one of those people. Um, like
That's why
very
you're here.
family very family oriented, and Walt wanted a place for families to go, and like that's why he created the animations so people could have these stories. But with this new age of it coming and like Disney basically acquiring everything and one day they could basically rule the world, um they have they already rule Orlando and basically, you know, so it's like it's just time. They're it's Disney. Um you know, it's like it's a good path they're going so that way they can start opening up to older audiences and they don't have to just focus their money on families. You know, they get like the Marvel fans, you know, they get like the 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds who love these comics, you know, they get the, you know, like the dads and the moms who have grown up with like the cartoons and making it into shows, but keeping that same violence and that kind of stuff into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it is still like another test for Disney, just like, all right, are we sure people are gonna love it? And like they already know that people love Daredevil in this character. So it's like, all right, this is step two. Then, you know, I feel like, I mean, granted, you know, especially with the Avengers movies and everything, they're probably already in like writing phases trying to figure all that stuff out. But it could then lead to, okay, can we make the Avengers more, you know, graphic or stuff like
Mature.
that,
Yeah.
more mature, because the audience that grew up with them are now mature. It's like Toy Story, it's like the audience grows.
Yeah.
So I feel like that, and they still have their kids movies, you know, that come out. Like I know the new kids movie that's coming out, I think it's Hopper, that Pixar announced. So they're still doing that because Disney's huge and they have so many different departments that focus on so many different things. That they're Marvel, they're
Mm-hmm.
Lucasfilms, they're Pixar's, you know. So it's like all right, we can go into this direction and see what's happening, and they won't get, I don't know, mocked. You know how people are like, you know, the Disney-fied version. They like people are like, all right, like they'll start not respecting, because I feel like people do have like this big respect for Disney, but you know, like almost like respecting them more for going the
Going
more,
those darker, taking a bit
yeah.
more of that. And you raise a point too, because there was also the whole situation with Blade, because Blade, of course, I mean, again, if that ever gonna get made, right? 5 years. But in the event that if Blade does get made, right, there was still the question of whether or not Blade was going to be PG-13 or R-rated, and it's like, well, if you want to have a comic accurate, or at least have the best version of Blade, you would want it to be R-rated, because when you look at a character like Blade, I mean, it's there's nothing you can really tame about Blade, because I mean, he's a vampire
Mm-hmm.
hunter, right? That's like the main
Mm-hmm.
focus of it. And there's also going to be the comparisons to the Wesley Snipes version, which I believe they were R-rated. So um it's like, if you wanted to it's like if you want to give the best quality of of like a story or a character of someone, especially from like something like the comics, and you want to bring them to live, to live action, it's like, well, you shouldn't really, it's like when you want to ideate a project, right? It's like, well, if you see that going the mature, more violent route is the best way to showcase a story, then you don't want to oh man, I just had the thought for a second, but you don't want to lose the opportunity to showcase the best quality of that, right? You don't want to, because if the best quality is that you want to go into like a more violent and more graphic route, then you should go that route. Especially with a case like Blade or even with Daredevil, right? And we've seen again with Daredevil that, compared to the Ben Affleck version, the best version has been the Charlie Cox one, where it's like we do see a very complex Matt Murdock, where he is very involved, in this vigilante lifestyle, where there are some very violent characters. We see how violent Kingpin is. Like, if you were to tame him, make a tamer version of him, it wouldn't have worked. Yes, it would. Yeah, we see the character of Kingpin. Ooh, snap. Something just fell in my room.
Oh no, it's Kingpin. We heard you speaking of him. He said, "How dare you do this to me?"
Oh my god! I was like, "Oh my god, what just fell?" But but yeah, it's like the king. Like, yeah, this is, we saw a Kingpin of him in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but it makes sense there because it is an animated movie, so you wouldn't have to showcase the violent side of Kingpin. But when you do look at something like the live actions, like, well, Kingpin is a very violent person. He has, he's very short-tempered, so you can't really Disneyfy him. You can't really PG-13 him. If you know for a fact that the best way to showcase a story is that violent version, you don't want to pull yourself back from showcasing that version. And I think that the fact that we're now starting to see a little bit more of these mature content of Marvel movies and shows, I think that we're actually going to see some of the best storytelling of these characters, whether it be like Deadpool and Wolverine or Blade, and even in the case of Daredevil. And if that is the case, and if not just with Marvel, but if Disney starts to realize that these are some of the best kinds of stories, that, sometimes you do have to showcase them in a more, in a more mature manner, then you kind of have to go in that route. I mean, that's like saying that, is Alien under Disney? Can you check that?
Alien.
Romulus. Is that under Disney?
No. The Walt Disney Company.
It is?
Well,
is it?
It says Alien Romulus. The Walt Disney Company is the parent company of 20th Century Fox and this ABC.
Okay, so yeah. So that's that's like saying that if you were to take Alien, right? Because now Alien is now under the rights of Disney, right? And that's like, oh, well, but Disney is a very family-oriented company, so, well, they have to stick to their PG-13, vibes. And it's like, okay, well, if you PG-13 Alien Romulus, it's not going to be a great movie, right? Because the whole point of Alien is that you have these very dangerous creatures who are very scary and very violent, and, you can't just Disneyfy, alien movies, like the Alien movies, and, try not to show the bloodiness of it. That's not going to work. That's not going to work, because we know from the original movies that the whole point of it is that it's like there is that horror vibe to it. So it's like when you know for a fact that, characters like Blade and characters like Deadpool, like they are very, violent in nature from what their comic book variations are. It's like, well, there's no choice, but you've got to go in that direction. So again, I'm glad that they got their senses together. Let's just say this. They got their senses together. They realized that the version that they originally had would, because again, they were just about finished with Daredevil, the original one that they had filmed. And then they're like, yeah, no, we're redoing this. We're going to go back to the drawing board. We're going to go from scratch on this. We're going to bring in the more Netflix vibe to it. It's like, okay, that means that they must have realized that their Disney-fied version was not good. Probably was not good, and they probably were like, yeah, if we show this to an audience, especially because not just the fact that there has already, again, there's already been the fact that they're bringing back the same actor playing Daredevil, and there's that comparison to Netflix. It's like, if there's going to be that comparison, there's going to be comparison, no denying that. And it's like, if people are like, whoa, this is so awful compared to that Netflix version, oh man, they're going to put themselves into a really bad position. So I'm glad that they, like, again, I'm happy that they started from scratch. Like, I would rather that they restart the whole thing and bring in a much better storytelling and present something that is presentable, that even audiences will enjoy. And and even if it meant like, you know, having to take a much more violent approach, you're just gonna have to do it. There's just no way of getting it out of it. You want to present quality. That's the big thing. And I think this is very essential going into, you know, in the whole general discussion about Marvel as well, right? Because there has been the complaint about the quality of Marvel movies and shows, right? Both sides. And the
Mm-hmm.
quality has not been out there. That's not to say that we haven't had some good, you know, Marvel TV shows post Endgame. There has been Shang-Chi, No Way Home, Guardians, Loki, WandaVision. Those are the few that we actually liked, but there hasn't been that consistency in that quality. And right now, I think the main focus, and I'm glad that this is going to be the main focus moving forward, is that there needs to be that quality check for what they're presenting. And if that means going the, you know, the violent R-rated mature route, you're gonna have to just go with that route. I mean, you can't really. There's really no other way, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, this is a discussion that extends to Blade as well. It's like, okay, well, Blade, right? That's gonna be R-rated. I think they confirmed that that's gonna be R-rated. So it's like, okay, well, you kind of have to at this point. Like, if you want to have the best, if you want to have the most presentable version of Blade. So I think again, I'm just happy that that's what they decided to do, and I think that with what we saw with Deadpool Wolverine, where, you know, it's clear that R-rated does work,
Mm-hmm.
R-rated
Yep.
Marvel does work. Um, why just stop there? You can keep on doing this, and I think again, you raise a really good point. The generation that grew up with these movies are older. They understand these things. They are a lot more mature, right? Yes, you might not be able to show this to kids,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I don't care. Just if it's only catered to adults, it's only catered to adults. I mean, there's just again, that's just the way it is, right? If you want the best and most presentable thing to showcase the best storytelling, you just kind of have to take those risks. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I believe there's been cases where people are like so upset that, you know, kids can't watch Deadpool Wolverine. It's like, well, I mean, first off, why are you showing your kids Deadpool?
Yeah, it's like this should not be a character they know.
Because I swear to God, I've been hearing so many. I'm like, yo, you do realize what the rating of the movie this movie is, right? Like, mm. But it's like, why are you so upset that, you know, the movie is R-rated? It's like, well, it's R-rated, okay, they can't watch it. Well, it's too bad. Your kids can't watch it. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to tell you. It's like, oh, but more. It's like, so what? I want the best movie. I don't want, like, I get it. And yeah, there's money that Marvel could have made out of Deadpool Wolverine if they made it PG-13, but would it have actually reached that point? It's gonna be questionable because again, if it wasn't, I feel like the version that we got with Deadpool Wolverine going in that R-rated route, it's like that's the best way of showcasing this kind of story. And so, and I don't think a PG-13 movie would have worked. Let's be honest, I don't think it would have worked. So, um, so again, it goes into that whole question of quality versus, you know, just, you know, the general idea of what a actual company usually presents themselves as. But I think that again, they just have to, if they're gonna have all these, you know, and you even mentioned just now, right? Like they're acquiring so many of these studios and companies that, you know, never really had like the, you know, the quote unquote like family kind of brand, right? Where it's like, because with Disney, it's like, oh, we know they're always, you know, family branded. There's like, we rarely ever see anything R-rated or so graphic or violent from them. But now it's like they're acquiring these kinds of studios where, you know, they actually did have these kinds of movies and shows. It's like, well, you can't just be, you know, you can't just be exclusive to just showing family material, family oriented material.
Yep.
You kind of have to go beyond that. So but so you really raise a point like that. It's like, yeah, at some point you're just gonna, if you're gonna acquire all this, you're just gonna have to take, you're just gonna have to like break your vows and actually show quality stuff. So, but yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But anything you have to add to it?
No, you summed it up perfectly.
Okay. But please watch Daredevil. I promise you, you're going to love this series. Like you're honestly like now thinking about it, it's like, oh, I want to go see Daredevil right now. Because I will say if you were to ask me the ranking, I'll say one, then three, then two. I think two was the weakest season, but even then, there's some good material, especially with the whole Punisher stuff. You're gonna be heartbroken. You're gonna be heartbroken. I'm telling you, you need to watch it. Has your dad watched it or no?
I don't think he's watched it
Girl, you guys gotta watch it. If you have Disney Plus or Hulu, watch it. It's there. It's available now. You can
Okay.
go watch it there. So yeah, let's let's try to get through some of the last bits that we have. We're almost there. We're at the end. Let's quickly talk about Fantastic Four because there were some things that we got of it. The movie is now filming, of course, in London. And we know now that the movie is now called Fantastic Four: First Steps. Thankfully, it's not going to be like the previous Fantastic Four movies where they do like the origin story, but it's going to be like, oh, they already are like the Fantastic Four, right?
Mhm.
Um, this past weekend we got the first score for Fantastic Four, as well as the first look of what their costumes are going to look like. So,
Mhm.
in terms of the score, I love it. I definitely get the 60s futuristic techno vibe to it. It's like, I love that that's the approach that they're taking. It really fits the world that they're in because, of course, is because we know for a fact that Fantastic Four itself, like the timeline of it, it's not in the same timeline as a sacred timeline, so they're in a whole different kind of world. And then in terms of their costume, I mean, I feel like you definitely get the 60s vibe to it. So I think in terms of the setting of it all, it fits that vibe. Yes, it does have a lot more white than a lot of us are familiar with. Um, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Um, Joseph Quinn, he's Johnny Storm. We see a little bit of the blonde
Mhm.
flocks on his hair. It was like, okay, there's Johnny Storm, which is like, oh man, there's gonna be the comparison because now we just saw Chris Evans, Johnny
Yep.
Storm return. Um, but again, again, you just gotta have to wait and see, right? I mean, I feel like people are not giving him a chance. I like if you've seen Stranger Things, like I mean, he's absolutely amazing as Eddie. He was
Mhm.
great in A Quiet Place Day One. Like, oh my god, like I loved him as Eric. And now it's like, oh, he's not gonna be Johnny Storm. And it's like, okay, I know a lot of people have some qualms about him because he doesn't have that kind of look of Johnny Storm. But I mean, again, give it a chance, right? Give it a chance. But yeah, we got a couple more, footage and teases about Fantastic Four this week. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about the score and then the costume that we just got from the footage.
I mean, as an orchestra nerd, the the score is beautiful. I admit. It sounds like you said so 60s techno.
60s
Yeah.
futuristic kind of.
Futuristic, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the best way to describe it. I absolutely love it. I was it the Fantastic Four? It was like the theme song, like in the middle of it, right? Like it wasn't the Marvel theme song that they like that was
Mm,
added in, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think it's great. I'm excited to hear the whole score. Still trying to figure out like in my head like where they would put that in the movie or if that would be like the ending, you know? I'm like that was my thoughts was like where
Mm-hmm.
would this song fit? Um, Seeing the first looks of the costumes, I thought it I liked the costumes. I know we're so used to like you said like
The
it's a
blue,
lot
the
more
dark
white,
blue.
but we're so used
Yeah.
to the dark blue, but I like it because it fits the
The whole
vibe of
setting, the
going
vibe, the
back.
setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
Um
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, no, that was pretty much it. And like yeah, seeing Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, I think it's great. I mean, I feel like he's going to play the character really well, especially um and it's I think it's good. I think overall it's going to be good. I'm excited. I'm excited. I feel like it's a good cast. That's why.
I think it's a good cast as well. I'm looking forward to it again. We're not gonna get this movie until next summer actually, and then we're probably not gonna get the first trailer until I would say the earliest would not be until like November December of this year, but probably we won't even get the first trailer until like February of next year, like almost like the Super Bowl time. Um,
Super Bowl trailer.
yep. So yeah, but I think that's all I have to say about Marvel right there because again I know it's getting a little late. So let's just start. Let's just breeze through the last bits. So Star Wars Skeleton Crew trailer just came out, as well as the fact that there's going to be returning characters from Rogue One and Andor season 2. Did you see Andor season 2? I mean, have you seen Andor?
Yes? No.
Yes,
My dad did.
your dad did.
Andor is
Um,
the yeah, no. I my
Cassian
dad did.
Andor, your dad, but
My
you haven't
yeah.
seen it.
No.
Okay, so they confirmed that season 2 is gonna have K2SO and Saw Gerrera as well as Krennic. So the three characters from Rogue One are returning in season 2. They didn't show up. I don't remember if Saw Gerrera was in Andor, but the other characters were not. Like K2SO was not in season 1. So they're now going to appear in season 2, and apparently season 2 is going to cover a span of 4 years. So
Ooh.
each episode is going to cover like each of like the timeline or something like that. So I'm excited to see Andor season 2. I would say you should probably give it a try. I think your dad didn't like it though, right?
Yeah, he didn't like it as much. I think I saw like the first 2 episodes. That's my problem with that's again, you're very into Marvel, I'm very into Star Wars. That's my problem with Star Wars. It's kind of like lacking right now in certain things.
But I feel
So
like
like I
Andor
have
is like
not.
I feel like Andor is
It's
one
one
of
of
the
the
better
better
shows
ones.
though.
Yes.
I feel like Andor is one of the better ones. I think the best things to come out of Star Wars in the last few years are Andor and The Mandalorian, although I was not a big fan of season 3 to be honest. But Andor I liked because it was a little bit more mature. Like there were some
Hmm.
bits that you're like, oh wow, it's really mature. But but I think it's a really nice story that it it's a prequel to Rogue One. It gets a little bit more of an idea of who Cassian is as a character, and it definitely adds a little bit more complexity to who he is, as well as having a much better idea of what everyday life is as just like a commoner, right? You don't have to be a Jedi, you don't have to be a Sith Lord. You're just somebody who is caught in the middle of this war between Jedi's and Siths, right? So it's like I really like that kind of style that we see with Andor, and I think that that's a little bit more of a context that I feel like has been missing with Star Wars. It's like, yes, we know the whole, the shebang with Jedi's and Siths and Force, but then it's like, oh, we now are seeing a much of a different side, which is just normal working people, and then just the resistance, right? And so I like that. Again, I liked Andor so much just because of the performances, the storytelling. Yes, it is a bit of a slow burn, but there's some really interesting aspects to it, and then just the ending bits were really great. So I would say if you can have the chance just to finish it off. I know your dad didn't like it, but you should give it a chance. I know my sister didn't like it either. I'll admit to that. I know
Hmm.
it's like some things like it's just, again, it's just a whole taste right there. But for someone like me who's like very open to some of these things, it's like I like when there's a little bit of a different tone to things. So, and I'm excited for season 2. Like I can't even wait to see how season 2 is going to progress. So there's that. Skeleton Crew, I saw the trailer for it. I'll watch it. I probably won't even do I don't think I'm going to do any episode reactions to it, to be honest, just cuz it is kind of a little bit more of like a kid. I don't want to say it's a kid show cuz I hate saying that, but you can tell it's just like, it is catered to a much younger audience, right? So I'm
For
probably not gonna.
Skeleton Crew,
Yeah, Skeleton Crew.
I'm so excited. What are you talking about?
You're excited.
I
I
am
mean,
so excited for Skeleton
I'm
Crew.
gonna see it. I'm just not gonna do any like episode reactions like I've done with
Yeah.
like the rest of, like have I done with some of the other Star Wars series that I've done. Like I'm probably just gonna just watch it on my own personal time. So, but I think the trailer looks really interesting though. So I will say that. So I'm looking forward to it. So there's that. Mando and Grogu, we know that that's the movie that's coming. So it's basically confirmed that this is gonna be the first Star Wars movie we're gonna get since Rise of Skywalker. So it's confirmed. It's coming out
Hmm.
2026. We're getting that. I don't think they've. You know what's so surprising? Apparently, I don't know if I read this right. Apparently, the movie's already filming.
So is Pedro Pascal filming 2 movies at once?
Okay, that's what I was trying to say. I was like, wait a second. If it's already filming, does that mean that like it's like wait what? It's like wait, is Pedro Pascal even gonna be involved in the shooting then? I mean, I will
Well, is
say
Pedro Pascal in
mhm,
it to begin with?
because it's like you do just have a hooded figure, right? So you wouldn't really technically need him to be
Yeah.
present.
You just need his
He
voice.
You just need his voice, which is like from ADR, which is like okay, I can
Interesting.
see that point. So it's like okay, but then they're probably gonna need him for any case where he does need to remove his mask, right? I mean, again, it's really
Yeah.
tough because season 3, he basically went in that water just so that he can cleanse
Yes.
himself, and therefore it's like, oh, that's basically an implication that he's probably not gonna take his mask off again.
Hmm.
But it's like, well, is that really gonna be it? So it's like okay. So, but I get it. Like, they're probably gonna have a stand-in for maybe. That's probably
Yeah.
how they're gonna do the movie if they're already filming it. It's like, wait, but Pedro Pascal's in London filming Fantastic Four. Like, what? And it's like they could have waited because the movie doesn't come out until 2026, whereas Fantastic Four comes out literally next year. But it's like, okay, maybe they're just gonna do ADR with Mando, because
Mhm.
probably you don't really need him physically to play Mando.
Yeah.
So who knows, right? We'll see. So that was the one bit I was like, wait, so Pedro Pascal is not gonna really play Mando then? He's just gonna do ADR. But yeah, again, that's happening, and then we can quickly go into some of the park stuff. So apparently, Smuggler's Run, because we actually gone to Smuggler's Run and actually done the
Mhm.
simulation in Disney World. So apparently, they're gonna update that with Mando and Grogu now,
I love
very
that.
soon. Which I was like, okay, I appreciate that, because now, a lot of people probably already done Smuggler's Run at this point. It's like, well, we want something a bit more refreshing and new. I'm fine with
Mhm.
Mando and Grogu. There you have it with that. I heard that they're also expanding Avengers Campus and Disneyland, so they're adding in 2 more rides, as well as the fact that they're going to have a ride with Tony Stark in it. So that, technically speaking, RDJ is coming back as Tony Stark, but in Disneyland. So there you have that. But in Disney World, right? Disney World is more that affects us, because we know the Epic Universe was opening up next year. There's always been that. There's been a conversation about, okay, well, Epic Universe is opening up a whole brand new
Mhm.
park. Disney hasn't really done anything to really revamp Disney World, and like at least not in a while, aside from like I think a bus, upgrade or something. But
Mhm.
now we got actually like big updates regarding some of the things that they're going to do with Disney World, which again, this is probably response to Epic Universe.
Yep.
So things like Indiana Jones, they're going to have a ride for that. They're going to add a Monsters Inc. land, right? I think that's supposed to be replacing the Muppets. Is that what I'm getting?
I thought Monsters Inc. Land was in California.
No, they're doing one in Disney World, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, no
Did you
way.
not read that?
No, I swear it was only in California.
Hold up.
Monsters Inc. Land. Hold on. Google.
Google, yeah. I was like,
Weird.
I'm pretty sure Monsters Inc. It was for Disney World.
No, it says Monsters Inc. theme land coming to Disney's. It's going to Hollywood
Magic
Studios.
Kingdom,
Oh
yeah.
my god. No
At
way.
Hollywood Studios. I was like, yo, Hollywood Studios is us, isn't it?